Chapter 65. Gu Mengmeng was dumbstruck throughout. F******. Wasn't this too against the rules? Although they were sisters, it was Gu Mengmeng's first time letting someone else do something like changing sanitary pads for her. Although Elvis's actions were clean and smooth, without any hint of lasciviousness, she still felt really embarrassed. How could she break it? Leader. Gu Mengmeng sorted out her thoughts and was actually speechless, unable to find a suitable sentence to express her feelings. In the future, I will be your eyes. Elvis's voice was deep and rich, just like an old European piano from the last century. The sound he played was smooth, solid, and could shock one's soul. Gu Mengmeng face-bombed. Why did she feel Leader's deep pity? Was she being discriminated against by a wolf? Gu Mengmeng really wanted to shout, I can't see because you sealed the cave entrance, not because I'm blind, alright? But Leader looked so emotional now, it did not seem suitable to say that. Gu Mengmeng bit her lower lip, pouted and lowered her head to admit defeat. You have night vision, you're good. Change to a new beast skin dress, this one, is not good. What Elvis did not mention was that this beast skin dress was stained with Gu Mengmeng's scent of estrus, enough to make all males excited. He did not like to display her seductive look, and even more disliked the way everyone was coveting her. But I don't have any other clothes. Gu Mengmeng shrugged her shoulders. She was also helpless. After transmigrating, she only wore a set of bikini, who would know her helplessness? You do. Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng and walked into the depths of the cave. In the darkness, Gu Mengmeng, who was extremely uneasy, wrapped her arms around Elvis's neck tightly. Even though she had gradually adapted to the darkness, she still felt insecure. Until Elvis stopped in his tracks, Gu Mengmeng widened her eyes in disbelief at everything in front of her. There was a faint light in the depths of the pitch-black cave. It was dim and unclear, and she could not see clearly. Gu Mengmeng originally thought that she had stayed in the darkness for too long and her eyes had problems. In the end, Elvis walked in front of the light and lifted his hand. A luminous pearl the size of a fist suddenly appeared in front of Gu Mengmeng's eyes. Damn! What a tycoon! Strictly speaking, the luminosity of this luminous pearl was not even comparable to a candle, and this faint green light made people feel as if they were filming a horror film. But to Gu Mengmeng, this was practically, a gift from the beast deity. Like a baby looking at a milk bottle, Gu Mengmeng tried her best to grab the luminous pearl. Elvis did not waste any time and directly stuffed the luminous pearl into Gu Mengmeng's hands, asking with a smile, Do you like it? Gu Mengmeng nodded vigorously, I like it, I like it. I love it. Then take it and play with it. Elvis said it in an extremely relaxed manner, as if he had just given an alpine to the neighbor's child. Gu Mengmeng hugged the luminous pearl in her arms, afraid that she might accidentally break it. She touched it left and right happily, saying, I'm just taking a look, I'll return it to you later. But her eyes never left the luminous pearl for even a second. Elvis smiled dotingly. I can give you anything you like. Chapter 66. Elvis smiled helplessly. Gu Mengmeng was always very special. She treated things that were common in the beast world as treasures, but things that had a great impact on the beast world were just at her fingertips. She did not care about them at all. Just like the yellow sauce that Sandy gave her. Although it was hard to obtain, it could be obtained as long as one was strong enough. Another example would be this luminous pearl. Although it could glow, it was useless to orcs who had night vision. Only females would think that it looked good, so they played with it. But Gu Mengmeng was smiling so contentedly, as if she had obtained a precious treasure. Seeing how Gu Mengmeng was playing with the luminous pearl, Elvis did not restrain her. He placed her on the ground and carefully protected her so that she would not bump into the walls or other things in the cave. As long as there was no danger, he allowed her to run around the cave like a child, holding the luminous pearl and shining it here and there. And Elvis, who was following behind Gu Mengmeng, was still smiling lightly. He liked that his cave was filled with Gu Mengmeng's scent, and also liked that his territory was filled with her shadow. Ouch! Gu Mengmeng was having too much fun and accidentally tripped on something. She was about to fall flat on her face. Luckily, Elvis had quick reflexes and grabbed onto Gu Mengmeng's slender waist, preventing her from touching the ground intimately. Meanwhile, Gu Mengmeng heaved a sigh of relief. She patted the non-existent dust on the luminous pearl that she was protecting tightly in her arms and said, thank goodness, you didn't fall." Elvis was a little angry. In times of danger, the most important thing she should do was to protect herself. If he had not protected her just now, her arm would have definitely been bruised. And all this was just to protect that stupid pearl? Elvis held on to Gu Mengmeng's armpits with both hands and pulled her in front of him. Keeping their eyes level, he said in a low voice, "Promise me, no matter what happens, you will prioritize protecting yourself first. But this luminous pearl is the first gift that leader gave me." Gu Mengmeng's innocent gaze pierced through the faint glow of the luminous pearl and landed directly on Elvis's heart. The corners of Elvis's lips curled up uncontrollably. It was a pity that the luminous pearl was too dim, or else Gu Mengmeng would definitely be stunned by Elvis's smile. "It's about time, I'll help you change your clothes." He couldn't wait to become his official partner. Huh? Gu Mengmeng almost bit her own tongue upon hearing that. The shame of changing sanitary pads hadn't faded yet, and now he was going to help her change her clothes? Wouldn't he have seen everything then? No. Gu Mengmeng shook her head like a rattle drum. No need, leader. I can change it myself." "You can't see," Elvis insisted. I can see it. "Don't I have the luminous pearl that boss gave me?" Gu Mengmeng smiled stiffly as she raised the luminous pearl in her hand, indicating that she could really see it. However, Elvis grabbed the luminous pearl that was the size of Gu Mengmeng's fist with one hand, just like a normal person holding onto a small sugar orange. Then, he exerted a little force, crack. Chapter 67. You can't see it now. Leader, if I didn't know you liked Leah, I would have thought you were a hooligan. Gu Mengmeng wanted to cry but no tears came out. Such a huge luminous pearl was crushed just like that, leader. Gu Mengmeng sounded like she was about to cry because her heart ached for the luminous pearl. "You're gay, why are you competing with me, a female? Be good." Elvis pulled Gu Mengmeng into his arms and rubbed her furry little head with his chin. Her aggrieved look was really lovable and Elvis started to fall in love with the feeling of bullying her and making her look at him helplessly. In the absolute darkness, the only person Gu Mengmeng could rely on was Elvis. Hence, she wrapped her little hands around Elvis's neck tightly and looked as if she had nothing left to live for but could not bear to die, her heart aching for the luminous pearl that had been crushed into pieces. Elvis was completely unaffected in the darkness and calmly took a deerskin dress for Gu Mengmeng to change into. Although he was not very familiar with it, he managed to put it on smoothly with Gu Mengmeng's cooperation. Gu Mengmeng had spent most of her attention on the luminous pearl and had firmly believed that Elvis and Leah were a couple. She treated Elvis as her sister from the bottom of her heart. Moreover, there was no light in the cave and she did not notice Elvis's strange behavior. Hence, she did not put up her guard and allowed Elvis to change her clothes for her. But Elvis did not have it as easy as Gu Mengmeng. Originally, he just wanted to change the dress that was stained with her scent of estrus so that he could quickly go to the campfire to gain her approval and become her rightful first partner. But when he really took off her clothes and saw her exquisite body, Elvis felt as if his body was a dead tree that was being devoured by the flame devil. Every cell in his body was burning. Something was boiling in his blood, gushing and surging violently. It was as if there was a voice beside his ears saying, eat her. Of course, this eating was not the eating. His rationality told Elvis that he had already obtained Gu Mengmeng's approval and promise. He just had to go through the motions by the campfire later and he would be her rightful partner. After that, he would naturally be able to eat her up. But if he could not control his urges now, it was very likely that all his efforts would go to waste. What if Gu Mengmeng had a bad feeling about him before mating and refused to acknowledge him as her first partner? What's more, she was in heat, so it wasn't a good time to mate. After Gu Mengmeng changed her clothes, Elvis did not hurry to bring her out of the cave. On one hand, his body's excited state made him feel very uncomfortable. On the other hand, the males at the door still had green lights in their eyes. So he maintained his motionless posture while hugging Gu Mengmeng. While trying his best to calm his boiling blood, he secretly released an even stronger pressure towards the outside of the cave, to make those restless males restrain themselves. Gu Mengmeng was Elvis's female. How could she be coveted by just anyone? Gu Mengmeng, who did not know all this, was still feeling sorry for that luminous pearl while touching the clothes on her body. Although she could not see the style due to the lighting, she could feel that the size was very suitable and was definitely tailor-made for her. Moreover, she did not want to go out and face that group of wolves and tigers that could lose control at any time. So she chatted idly with Elvis and did not mention anything about going out. Digression. Chapter 68. It would be best if the campfire party could be dragged to the end. Gu Mengmeng did not want to find a first partner in the beast world. If she went back one day, how was she going to explain to others that she was hugging a son and not a pet? Leader, where did you get this shirt from? It fits me perfectly. I made it. Elvis answered casually, but there was a hint of anticipation in his eyes. Would she like it? She would like it, Io. Not bad. Leader, you're so awesome, you even know how to make clothes. Gu Mengmeng's lips twitched as she fell into her own imagination. She originally thought that someone like Elvis, who was extremely powerful, would definitely be a strong attacker, while Leah, who was like a high mountain flower, would be a weak taker. But it seemed like there was a chance now. Leader actually knew how to make clothes with his attributes. Gu Mengmeng imagined Elvis sitting at the head of the bed sewing with a needle and thread, while Leah lying on his side with one leg casually stepping on the side of the bed, his elbow supporting the edge of the bed and his palm supporting his head, looking at Elvis who was making clothes for him in a gentle and silent manner. Gu Mengmeng felt her nosebleed boiling. Damn, that's such a scene. How can I break my HP bar when it's empty? It's urgent, I'm waiting online. All males will make clothes for their females. Elvis did not know why Gu Mengmeng said he was an ox. He was clearly a wolf, but it did not seem to be a bad thing, so he accepted it gladly. Oh. Gu Mengmeng nodded her head silently, so Leader's craftsmanship was honed by making clothes for Leah, and she was basking in Lee's light? Thinking about the clothes that Leah wore on the platform of the deity's punishment today, the quality seemed to be quite good. TSK, Leader really had no choice. Martial arts could bring peace and stability to a country, literary arts could sew clothes and cook, forget about cooking. Thinking about that charcoal roasted meat, Gu Mengmeng felt her stomach churning again. No one was perfect, Leader had already done very well. Moreover, Leah seemed to have a talent for cooking, the two of them complemented each other. You make clothes for me and I cook for you, Ayaya, so sweet, completely unaware that Gu Mengmeng's teasing had reached the ends of the earth. Elvis looked at Gu Mengmeng's joyful expression and naively thought that she was smiling because she liked the clothes he made for her. When Leah sent you back yesterday, you were in a deep sleep. I made them while I was guarding you. There are still a few more for you to change into, Elvis said gently. Gu Mengmeng nodded silently as she imagined a miraculous setting. Leah was like a strong and wise father, descending from the sky like a hero to save his daughter when she was in danger. Elvis was like a mother, staying by her unconscious daughter's bedside while weeping and making new clothes for her. This was to support the belief that her daughter would definitely wake up and not break down. Damn, the more Gu Mengmeng thought about it, the more she felt that it was true. No wonder Elvis and Leah treated her so well, it was because they desired a complete family. Gu Mengmeng looked at Elvis's direction in the darkness, as she started to sympathize with Elvis for no reason due to the tragic drama of Qiong that she had imagined. Thus, she stretched out her lotus-like arms and took the initiative to hug Elvis's neck. She patted Elvis's back lightly and comforted him. I know. Chapter 69. She knew how he felt about her. Elvis felt that he was extremely blissful. Then let's go out, don't let Leah wait for too long. Gu Mengmeng thought to herself, although she did not know how long she would stay in the beast world. since she was already hugging onto Elvis's thighs, she might as well hug him more thoroughly. Although it was a little unfair in terms of seniority, what other relationship could be more reliable than the relationship between parents and their children? Moreover, her godparents were extremely powerful and had power and influence. She did not lose out at all. Elvis's smile froze. After all, he could not have her all to himself, right? This morning when she woke up, the first person she looked for was Leah. When she was at the platform of the deity's punishment, her gaze towards Leah was so infatuated, coupled with the influence of the fox's seductive fragrance just now, it seemed like tonight, Leah would definitely become Gu Mengmeng's partner with him. This was indeed the best outcome. If he had to share Gu Mengmeng with other males, it would be Leah rather than anyone else. Be it from the tribe's perspective or his personal feelings, if it was Leah, he would be the best candidate. Although he understood the logic, his heart still ached when he really had to face it. Looking at Gu Mengmeng, who could not wait to look for Leah in his arms, Elvis developed a strange feeling for the first time in his life. That feeling was sour, making him irritated and uneasy. It had nothing to do with danger, but it was accompanied by a deep sense of helplessness. Of course, Elvis did not know that this feeling was called jealousy. He just felt that his heart was very uncomfortable. Between me and Leah, who do you like more? Elvis was also very surprised that he actually asked such a pretentious question. But Gu Mengmeng could not help but burst out laughing. Wasn't this a damn question parents would ask kindergarten kids? Who do you like more, Daddy or Mummy? Damn, she did not expect that she would still be asked this question even though she was already in university. The first rule of answering this question was not to offend anyone, otherwise, she would definitely be remembered for life and be brought up to be sarcastic every few days. Gu Mengmeng, who was well versed in this, cleared her throat and said in a very official manner, I like both of you treat me so well, I like both of you, indeed. Elvis's heart sank secretly. She really liked Leah. Between the two of them, which one do you prefer? This was related to the future status of the family. Who would be the first partner was very important. As expected, the extended question of whether he liked his father or his mother was, he could only choose one. Gu Mengmeng pursed her lips and thought to herself, Leader, you forced me to use my ultimate move. Thus, he took the initiative and asked, what about boss? Do you like me more or Leah more? You. Elvis answered without hesitation. The corners of Gu Mengmeng's mouth twitched. Damn, maternal love was indeed boundless. Even godmothers loved their children more than their husbands. If I fell into the river with Leah, would you choose to save me and let Leah drown? Gu Mengmeng did not give up and continued to ask. Leah knows how to swim. Elvis said calmly, moreover, you are a female. Gu Mengmeng face-bombed. Why was Elvis able to answer the question that had tortured Chinese men for thousands of years so easily? Alright, in this place where yin and yang were out of balance, you're a female, was really an all-purpose excuse. Chapter 70. Gu Mengmeng thought to herself, it seemed like it was impossible to bluff her way through. Even her ultimate move was easily neutralized by Elvis, so she could only face the problem head-on. After thinking for a while, Gu Mengmeng replied, I like Leader more. Why? Elvis's heart that was hanging in his throat finally calmed down. He suddenly realized that some nerves on his face were starting to go out of control, such as the corners of his lips. Gu Mengmeng thought, she could not possibly answer that it was because daughters were always closer to their mothers, right? So she touched her new clothes and replied in all seriousness, because Leader helped me make new clothes and even found food for me. He treats me very well. Elvis's heart felt like it was soaked in yellow sauce, the sweetness seeping into his bones. He slowly stood up and carried Gu Mengmeng to the entrance of the cave. With a casual tug, he tore the beast's skin that was smashed into the wall. The bright moonlight covered Saint Nazir like a light veil, making one feel peaceful and peaceful. The males guarding the entrance eventually could not withstand Elvis's beast pressure and left in groups of 2s and 3s. Anyway, it was Gu Mengmeng's coming-of-age ceremony tonight. It might be more effective for her to get a good spot by the bonfire than to wait at the entrance of Elvis's cave. Moreover, the risk was much lower. So, when Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng to the side of the bonfire, it was already crowded with people. Although the males consciously made way for Gu Mengmeng, the scene of them lining the path to welcome her was still too much for Gu Mengmeng to handle. Initially, she could still maintain a polite smile awkwardly, but after the males shouted, "Gu Mengmeng, choose me to be your partner," Gu Mengmeng buried her face into Elvis's neck timidly. "Meow," Gu Mengmeng wailed in her heart. She felt like she had entered a large-scale blind date, and the most perverted thing was that she was the only female guest in the entire place. "Gu Mengmeng." Gu Mengmeng heard Sandy's voice amidst the hustle and bustle. This kind call made Gu Mengmeng feel blessed. She looked towards the direction of the voice with her doe-like big eyes and saw Sandy waving at her. But, What the hell is that behind Sandy? Logs as thick as one's thighs were built into a tower in the shape of a Chinese character, but it was not lit. Only Leah, who was dressed in bright red, stood at the highest point of the wooden tower. Seeing Gu Mengmeng's arrival, he mumbled something to himself while waving his long sleeves. It would be too exaggerated to say that he was dancing, it was more like he was dancing. If not for the bright red clothes that made him look like a shaman from television dramas, Gu Mengmeng would have thought that Leah was wearing a wedding robe and standing on a high place to force her to marry him. At this moment, Gu Mengmeng did not even have the time to think about the Qiangyao style of love and hatred between Elvis and Leah. She just wanted to howl towards the sky, "Who the hell would return my holy daddy Leah to me? This crazy shaman must be a fake." Seeing that she was at a loss, Elvis took the initiative to explain, "When every young female matures, the tribe's witch doctor will pray to the beast deity, asking the beast deity to take care of this female, so that she can give birth to more strong cubs for the tribe." Gu Mengmeng pointed at Leah unwillingly and asked, "So he is praying for me now?" "Yeah." Elvis nodded. F***ck me. Chapter 71. Stop fooling around. Elvis frowned. She could do whatever she wanted with other matters, but how could she casually say that she did not need the beast deity's blessings? "I really don't need it." Gu Mengmeng thought to herself, "I am a pure and innocent young lady. I have not even been in a proper relationship before and I'm already jumping to the segment of praying for children? Isn't it a little too fast? I still want to enjoy 2 more years of my single life." Elvis remained silent and just looked at Gu Mengmeng with a serious expression, exuding an aura of authority. Although Gu Mengmeng could not feel the pressure of the beast world, she at least knew how to read people's expressions. Thinking that the beast deity was the absolute authority in this world, Gu Mengmeng shook her head helplessly. The Qing dynasty was already dead. Why are you all still so superstitious? As a true believer of atheism, Gu Mengmeng really wanted to popularize the scientific worldview for Elvis and the rest. But, she was terrified. Gu Mengmeng truly felt that if she continued to belittle the beast deity, Elvis's godmother would very likely burn her alive in the name of justice. Oh, she could also barbecue at the same time. Thus, Gu Mengmeng cleared her throat and pretended to be mysterious as she whispered into Elvis's ear, "The beast deity has already bestowed me with many blessings. If I still wish for more, I will be too greedy. I will be punished by the heavens." Elvis paused and his expression was solemn. It was obvious that he deeply agreed with Gu Mengmeng's words. After all, Gu Mengmeng was the messenger of the beast deity. Thus, Elvis raised his head and howled towards the sky. Gu Mengmeng, who was sitting on the VVIP seat, witnessed this scene from a close distance. The shock she felt was indescribable. She felt all the cells in her body tensing up, her limbs turning cold and her heart palpitating violently. After Elvis's howl, Leah, who was standing on the wooden pagoda, stopped praying as if he was dancing. With a few agile leaps, he easily jumped down from the wooden tower that was as tall as a 2-story building and stood steadily in front of Gu Mengmeng and Elvis. His long and narrow eyes looked at Gu Mengmeng with a tinge of doubt, as if waiting for her explanation. After all, Gu Mengmeng was the first person to interrupt the witch doctor's prayer. Gu Mengmeng did not know why, but whenever she met Li's eyes, her heart would race uncontrollably. No matter how much she told herself that Leah was her godfather, and that she was being carried by her godmother right now. She could not control her racing heart. Gu Mengmeng swallowed her saliva with difficulty as her throat became increasingly dry. She twisted her fair and tender fingers together and lowered her head. Like a child who had done something wrong, she explained softly, "It's too high up there and it's very dangerous. It's better if you don't go up if you don't have anything to do." Leah let out a light chuckle and hooked Gu Mengmeng's chin with his slender fingers, forcing her to look straight into his eyes. The corners of his lips curled up slightly, forming a beautiful curve. As if it was the work of that red robe, Leah, who was supposed to be as pure and holy as a high mountain flower, now had an extreme charm. "Are you worried about me?" At this moment, Leah was like a demon, like a sinner. He was obviously captivating, but so beautiful that people were willing to sink into him. The extreme holiness and the extreme temptation merged perfectly on Lee's body. Every move he made could dazzle people and make it hard for them to control themselves. Chapter 72. Leah seemed rather surprised. He tilted his head and looked at Elvis, who was hugging Gu Mengmeng. He held back his laughter and asked, "Are you worried about me?" "Because I went up to pray." Elvis also looked at Gu Mengmeng in surprise. He did not understand why she would say that. She had clearly said. Elvis suddenly thought of Gu Mengmeng's preference for Leah. She had said in the cave that she liked both him and Leah, so she would probably mate with both of them today. So she said that for the sake of a harmonious family relationship in the future? Elvis felt a slight pain in his heart. She was really thoughtful. Although Elvis knew that he would not have any problems getting along with Leah, it was still Gu Mengmeng's kind intentions. He could not bear to let her down, so he forced himself to nod and said, "Yes. It's too high, it's very dangerous." Elvis almost bit his tongue when he said the word dangerous. Guilty conscience, too guilty conscience. When he and Leah were fighting side by side, climbing the steep mountain walls and leaping on the towering ancient tree branches were all as if they were walking on flat ground. Now he actually said he was worried because he went up to a high place. Leah clearly knew that it was not Elvis's intention, but he did not point it out. He just smiled meaningfully and nodded his head, before returning his gaze to Gu Mengmeng's flushed face. When he retracted his hand from her chin, he slid it lightly across her cheek, tracing along the curve of her face to outline her contours. He teased Gu Mengmeng in a seemingly nonchalant manner, before asking calmly, skipping the blessing ceremony, "Let's directly start the duel." Elvis nodded. Then, he grabbed Gu Mengmeng's armpits and lifted her above his head. Then, he placed her on his shoulders. After exchanging glances with Leah, the two of them used their hands and feet in unison to climb to the top of the wooden pagoda like a gust of wind. When Gu Mengmeng finally reacted, she was already standing on the top of the pagoda in a mess. And the initiators, Elvis and Leah, stood on her left and right, looking like they were protecting her. They looked at the eager beasts at the bottom of the wooden pagoda with a condescending attitude. "Leader, what is this for?" Gu Mengmeng was really afraid that her words would come true. Was this wooden pagoda really used to burn her? Even if she was made into a barbecue, it wouldn't be enough for so many people to eat. F***ck, F***ck, F***ck. Gu Mengmeng used a second to seriously regret. She should not have taught them how to use fire. Now, she was trapped in her own trap. "If you like any of the males that successfully make it here, just let us know. We'll be merciful." Elvis's expression was stern and serious. He sincerely hoped that he would be the only one standing here in the end. One more Leah already made him very uncomfortable. If there were more males, he had a premonition that his pain would multiply. But, if Gu Mengmeng liked it, no matter how painful it was, he would endure it. After all, in the beast world, no male could monopolize a female. Moreover, a beautiful female like Gu Mengmeng would never lack pursuers. He had to learn to endure and adapt, because no matter how painful it was, he could not give up on Gu Mengmeng. Chapter 73. After hearing Li's words, Gu Mengmeng then recalled that the so-called campfire party was just a blind date that forced people to get married. Oh heavens, oh earth. Who the hell would get married on the day they came of age? The brains of the people who set this rule in the beast world must be filled with water, right? Gu Mengmeng jumped up from her seat with a start and hugged Li's thigh, shaking her head violently. Daddy Leah, please don't go easy on me, I don't want to be taken away by others. Li's long and slender hand with distinct joints covered Gu Mengmeng's head gently, his fair wrist blocking half of Gu Mengmeng's vision. From Gu Mengmeng's angle, she could only see Li's thin lips curling up slightly, like a poppy blooming on the other shore, seductive and deadly, with a charm that made people willingly sink into it. As you wish. Leah shifted his gaze away from Gu Mengmeng's face and exchanged a smile with Elvis. They nodded at each other, having a tacit understanding. Although the beast world was used to having one female with many males, which male would be willing to share his own female with others? It was just that they did not dare to stop him and could not stop him. Since Gu Mengmeng herself said that she did not want other males, they naturally would not do something like opening the city gates wide and inviting the wolf into the house. After all, it was enough for Gu Mengmeng to have Elvis as the wolf by her side. While Gu Mengmeng was talking to Elvis and Leah, the bottom of the wooden pagoda had already turned into a massacre. Although they were all males from the same tribe and were partners who had gone through life and death with each other, no one would give in to the other when it came to courtship. The low line was just not to take the other's life, injure or cripple them, depending on their own abilities. The first person to reach the top of the wooden pagoda was Colin, the male who helped Gu Mengmeng wash the rabbit meat on the platform of the deity's punishment. At this moment, he was covered in blood and it was hard to tell if it was his or someone else's. His rough face was plastered with hair that was wet with blood. He gave Gu Mengmeng an honest but determined smile, completely ignoring the injuries on his body and the intense battle just now. Gu Mengmeng, I'm coming up. Colin stood at the same spot. He knew that he could not win against either Elvis or Leah who were guarding the tower. He also knew his own limitations and had never thought of fighting with them for the position of the first partner. He would be satisfied as long as he could join Gu Mengmeng's family. Even if he could only stand far away forever and help Gu Mengmeng wash the rabbit meat, he would feel very happy. So he did not dare to advance rashly, because that would be seen as a challenge by Elvis and Leah. Are you willing to accept me as your partner? I'm strong and strong. No matter what you ask me to do, I'll do it. Colin said as he nodded heavily to show his sincerity. But to be honest, Gu Mengmeng had long been shocked by the blood on Colin's body. Isn't this a blind date? Shouldn't the screen be filled with pink bubbles, and everyone should send flowers, sing, or perform a talent show to win the beauty back? Why did the scene suddenly change and turn into a bloody storm? Was this still a matchmaking event? Are you sure it's not a gang fight on the streets? Gu Mengmeng was so scared that her blood froze. Her pale fingertips gripped tightly onto Li's clothes uncontrollably. Half of her body was hidden behind Leah, but she could not help but poke her head out in concern. She asked timidly, "Are you injured?" Aside from the topic, "Thank you, there are no more stars in the sky, for the flowers." As I was afraid that it would affect the updates, I had always stored the manuscript in the back end for regular updates. I only thanked the first fan of this book today, so my reaction was really slow. Chapter 74. Upon hearing Gu Mengmeng's words, Colin was not touched. Instead, his first reaction was panic. He carelessly wiped off the blood on his face, then explained hurriedly, "I only suffered some minor injuries. I will recover in a day or two. I won't become a crippled beast." Gu Mengmeng was taken aback for a moment, then she understood what Colin meant. She panicked and could not care less about her fear anymore. She stood out from behind Leah and explained while walking towards Colin, "I didn't mean it that way. If you don't have the intention to accept him as your partner, then don't care about him so casually." Gu Mengmeng's wrist was grabbed by Leah. With just a little bit of strength, he pulled Gu Mengmeng, who was only 1 to 2 steps away from him, back into his arms. Then, he looked up at Colin, who was full of anticipation, and said, "To become Gu Mengmeng's partner, you have to defeat either me or Elvis. Otherwise, you won't be able to gain our recognition." Colin frowned. He knew his own capabilities and was also very clear about Elvis's and Lee's capabilities. It was impossible for him to defeat them by himself. But he could not give up on Gu Mengmeng either. So, he took a deep breath, took a step forward and stepped into the challenge zone. He said seriously, "Leah, Colin, challenge you." Leah nodded leisurely. Colin's decision seemed to be within his expectations. Leah handed Gu Mengmeng over to Elvis, gently tilting his neck to both sides as a warm-up. Step by step, he slowly closed in on Colin. His slender fingers stretched out one by one, his nails growing at a speed visible to the naked eye. With Lee's elegant steps, the blood on Colin's face was replaced by sweat. Logically speaking, he did not lose to Leah by much in terms of combat ability, but his natural sense of danger kept screaming at him, telling him that it was not wise to go against Leah. But looking at Gu Mengmeng, who was being hugged by Elvis behind Leah, and meeting her worried and concerned eyes, Colin could not give in to the fear in his heart. He could not escape from Gu Mengmeng no matter what. Since they wanted to fight, then let's fight. However, where are your eyes looking at? Leah narrowed his eyes, his tone was calm but filled with a tinge of anger. He grabbed Colin's neck with his sharp nails and easily lifted Colin, who was obviously much more muscular than him. "You're actually distracted when fighting me? Am I being looked down upon by you?" Colin held on to Lee's hand with both hands, but he could not move Lee's steel-like fingers at all. His flushed face was filled with unwillingness but helplessness. His bloodshot eyes looked at Gu Mengmeng longingly, not willing to move away even for a second. "You should be glad that you are a member of Saint Nazaire." Leah maintained an elegant smile on his face the entire time, but Colin, who was in close proximity, could clearly see the coldness in Lee's smile. Leah was angry, really angry. Colin did not have the time to take another look at Gu Mengmeng before his body tilted backwards weightlessly. Like an abandoned puppet, he fell from the wooden tower that was 2 stories high. The last thing Gu Mengmeng heard was a loud thud. That was the sound of Colin landing on the ground. But such a situation did not attract the attention of the other males at all, nor did it reduce their enthusiasm. Rushing to the top of the tower meant that they were challenging Elvis and Leah, so such an outcome was expected. They were just fighting for a what-if chance. No matter how slim the chances were, they would never give up. Aside from the topic, why did Colin not challenge Elvis? Because he would die a worse death. Chapter 75. Don't fight anymore. Gu Mengmeng shook her head while shouting, but her shouts did not seem to have any effect. The males at the bottom of the tower tried their best to charge upwards, turning a blind eye to their companions being beaten down by Leah one after another. Leah stood proudly like the Grim Reaper, thick blood dripping from his fingertips, but a calm and enchanting smile remained on his face. This was the first time his hands were stained with the blood of his Saint Nazaire companions. "Leader, hurry and stop Leah, we're all on the same side, why do you have to do this?" Gu Mengmeng was terrified, curling up in Elvis's arms like a kitten, asking timidly. "I can't stop Leah, unless you want to take in all the single males in Saint Nazaire as your partners, or else this battle will only stop if they give up and don't come up." Elvis's expression was stern, without a hint of playfulness. Even the leader of Saint Nazaire cannot deprive other males of the right to mate. Gu Mengmeng shook her head and said, "But I will not choose them as my partners, there's no meaning in getting hurt like this." Elvis placed a finger on Gu Mengmeng's lips, moving the hand that was supporting the back of her head forward, sending Gu Mengmeng's little face to Elvis's lips. Elvis first kissed Gu Mengmeng's forehead lightly, then slowly moved his lips from Gu Mengmeng's cheek to her ear. His warm breath sprayed onto Gu Mengmeng's ear, moist and deep. "I'm very happy to hear you say this. But, don't be too cruel to them. At least, give them a chance to fight for it." "No. Since I will not choose them, why should I let them get hurt for this false hope?" Gu Mengmeng watched as males dashed up the wooden tower one after another, drenched in blood, to the point where she could not even see their faces clearly, before being thrown down mercilessly by Leah. It was the height of the second floor, males fell down one after another. Gu Mengmeng did not even have the courage to look down to confirm if they were still alive. And this bloody situation was still continuing, just to fight for a chance that she would not give them at all. No, it should not be like this. However, Elvis only smiled as he circled the agitated Gu Mengmeng in his arms. He used his chin to gently rest on her head as his gaze landed in the direction where another male had been beaten down by Leah. He said arrogantly, "It's every male's pride to fight for the female he likes. Whether he won or lost, it was a supreme glory. You can refuse to accept them, but don't deny them the chance to prove their sincerity to you, understand?" But sometimes, Gu Mengmeng really could not understand what was going on in the minds of males with terminal male cancer. She knew that males had excellent hearing. They would definitely be able to hear her loud voice. But even so, he continued to charge forward. He clearly knew that he could not defeat Leah, much less Elvis, but he did not have any intention of retreating. Instead, he became braver as he fought, as if he was proving Elvis's words. "Today is your coming-of-age ceremony. You just have to sit here and watch us fight for you." Gu Mengmeng really felt very helpless. She just had her period and they had to make it so bloody. What the hell was going on? She watched as the males charged forward with a heart full of passion, but were beaten down before they could even say a word to her. As long as they could still stand up, they would continue charging forward as if they did not know pain, and then get beaten down again. Chapter 76. This senseless bloodbath lasted for an entire night. When the sun rose from the horizon the next day and the first ray of sunlight shone on Gu Mengmeng's face, deafening cheers erupted from below the wooden pagoda. Gu Mengmeng turned her neck in a daze and looked at Elvis, who had been hugging her the entire time, with a pair of numb and empty eyes. Yes, this night, Elvis did not make a move at all. Leah alone blocked a single male from the tribe. "It's over." Elvis patted Gu Mengmeng's back lightly, then held her under her armpits with both hands and lifted her above his head, facing the first ray of sunlight. The beasts below the wooden pagoda became even more excited, their cheers resounding through the sky. Gu Mengmeng still could not understand the meaning of this coming-of-age ceremony, but thankfully, it was finally over. Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng and jumped down from the wooden pagoda. Standing in the middle of a group of injured males, he pointed at the 2-story tall pagoda and said, "Look, that's your bonfire." Gu Mengmeng's eyes widened. Gu Mengmeng followed Elvis's finger and looked at the wooden pagoda. The blood had already seeped into the wood and was seeping out from the inside. The old blood had coagulated into a paste and wrapped around the round wood, as if a thick layer of blood had been applied to the original wood. Against the light, it looked like a static bonfire in front of them. And Leah, who was walking over leisurely, with his bewitching red robe fluttering in the wind, became the finishing touch to this scene, bringing it to life. Although the males were all injured, they were still unusually excited. In Gu Mengmeng's coming-of-age bonfire, they were the ones who could use their blood. Gu Mengmeng did not understand where the pride of the males came from. She only felt her eyes stinging and tears falling down uncontrollably. In the end, she laid in Elvis's arms and sobbed uncontrollably. "Gu Mengmeng, congratulations. From now on, you're the first beauty of Saint Nazaire." Sandy watched from afar for the entire night. Her state was the exact opposite of Gu Mengmeng's. She was extremely excited the entire night and only came back to her senses when Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng down from the wooden pagoda. Then, she suddenly realized that Gu Mengmeng's bonfire was much redder and brighter than when Nina came of age 2 years ago. This meant that the males in Saint Nazaire acknowledged Gu Mengmeng more, so she naturally became the new most beautiful female in Saint Nazaire. Gu Mengmeng really did not feel anything towards the title of the first beauty. To be honest, being prettier than a bird's nest wasn't something to be proud of. Moreover, Gu Mengmeng felt physically and mentally exhausted. The emotions that she had suppressed for an entire night finally erupted the moment she saw Sandy. She did not know where she got the strength from, but she struggled out of Elvis's arms and pounced towards Sandy. She hugged Sandy's thick waist and started bawling her eyes out. As she cried, she shouted, "Sandy, what the hell is going on? How many people would die during a birthday celebration? Besides, it wasn't my birthday yesterday. I just had my period. Is there a need for blood to flow like a river? Boo-hoo. Sandy was a little dumbfounded by Gu Mengmeng's crying. Her coming-of-age bonfire was so beautiful. If it was her, she would definitely be overjoyed. But why was Gu Mengmeng crying so sadly? Chapter 77. Sandy comforted Gu Mengmeng for a long time, but Gu Mengmeng just could not stop her tears. The males at the side felt their hearts ache, but they could not do anything about it. Even Elvis and Leah could only look at each other and shake their heads helplessly. Gu Mengmeng, don't cry. I will roast the rabbit for you, alright? Sandy's heart ached so much that the only thing she could think of was the delicious roasted rabbit meat. Sob sob. I need to add yellow gravy, burp. Gu Mengmeng felt much better after crying out her suppressed emotions. Coupled with Sandy's gentle companionship, her emotions slowly calmed down. She had not eaten dinner last night and thought that there would be delicious food during the night campfire party, so she did not pester Elvis to prepare a meal. Who would have thought that the so-called night campfire party was actually stained with the blood of males? Gu Mengmeng was indeed a little hungry after being on tenterhooks for an entire night. Now that Sandy mentioned it, Gu Mengmeng wanted to eat even more. Alright, alright, alright. I will give you all the yellow gravy in Saint Nazaire, then don't cry. Sandy held on to Gu Mengmeng's little hand, her clear big eyes reflecting her figure. Sandy really could not understand Gu Mengmeng. Sometimes, she was braver than anyone else, her fearless demeanor making others worry and feel that she was very reliable at the same time. But sometimes, she was as weak as a cub, crying so hard that others could not bear to scold her. They just wanted to give her all the best things in the world, just to get a smile from her. Yeah. Gu Mengmeng answered while sobbing. The males had long lost their minds after hearing Gu Mengmeng's crying. Now that she was willing to make a request, what else could they not agree to? Without anyone's instructions, a few of them who had yellow gravy at home ran back to get it. Not long after, all the big and small stuffed buns wrapped in yellow gravy were placed in front of Gu Mengmeng, scaring her silly. She thought that, I'll give you all the yellow sauce, was just a kind of comforting words between bosom friends, and it was nothing more than that. Just like the cute and obedient girl in their dorm, who shouted, yes, for everyone in the dorm, only to be caught by the professor and given a harsh scolding. When she came back crying, the girl would also comfort her and say, it's okay, I'll let you have Lu Han. From today onwards, Lu Han is yours alone. When the two of you get married, I will give you a big red packet too. Indeed, Lu Han and Guan Xiaotong had not announced their relationship at that time, but Gu Mengmeng's words were definitely not enough. Weren't those words just to coax someone? Damn, did the people in the beast world know how to joke? Gu Mengmeng could not keep up with him being so honest. Gu Mengmeng, I'll help you find yellow sauce right now. I'll find as much as you want. Don't be angry, alright? Colin limped over. Looking at Gu Mengmeng's blank expression, he guessed that she did not smile because the yellow gravy was too little, so he volunteered, I'm very familiar with the yellow needle insects, I can definitely help you get a lot of yellow gravy. Cool, Lin. Gu Mengmeng looked up and saw Colin's bruised and swollen face. She felt that this was the most beautiful scene she had ever seen. Not caring about the bags of yellow gravy in her hands, Gu Mengmeng stood up abruptly and hugged Colin. She said excitedly, you're not dead? You're not dead. That's great, thank the heavens you're still alive. Aside from the topic, today, I received a notification from the editor that there will be 1P on the 13th. The importance of 1P to a novel need not be mentioned by Jean, all the babies would know. So, babies, during the 3 days from the 13th of November to the 16th of November, please do not raise any novels. Because the rate of follow-ups is a very important statistic. Babies who can leave comments, please start your performance PS. During the PK period, Jean will add one update every day. Then, all the babies who leave comments during the PK period will be rewarded with XXB10 for the first comment every day. If the content of the comment is related to the plot, the reward will be increased to 20 to 100 depending on the quality of the comment. Chapter 78. Colin was taken aback by Gu Mengmeng's sudden passionate hug. His body was so stiff that he could not move at all. He was like a piece of wood nailed to the ground, listening to his deafening heartbeat. Sandy looked at the agitated Gu Mengmeng and then at Colin. Recalling Colin's brave and fearless look last night, she took a deep breath and suppressed the jealousy in her heart. Colin was such an outstanding male, he should definitely pursue a perfect female like Gu Mengmeng. How could he like a half-orc female like her? Sandy had already guessed it when she saw how hard Colin worked last night. Her last sliver of hope was that Gu Mengmeng might not like Colin compared to Elvis and Leah. But looking at it now, they looked so compatible when they hugged each other. Sandy forced herself to smile. Today was her only good friend Gu Mengmeng's first day of adulthood. Colin could become Gu Mengmeng's partner on the first day she established her family. Even if his status could not be compared to Elvis and Leah in the future, he would definitely not be bullied by others later on. That was good too. With that thought, Sandy smiled and walked forward. She gave her blessing sincerely. Gu Mengmeng, congratulations on becoming an adult. Elvis, Leah and Colin are all very good males. I believe they will take good care of you in the future. Huh? Gu Mengmeng froze on the spot as if she was struck by lightning. She could understand if she was talking about Elvis and Leah. They were her godparents and could be considered as a family. But what did it have to do with Colin? Sandy looked at Gu Mengmeng's confused expression. She stretched out a finger in confusion and pointed at the two hugging each other. Didn't you decide to take Colin in as your partner? Gu Mengmeng followed Sandy's chubby little hand and lowered her head to look. She suddenly let go of her hand and gave Colin a hard shove. But Colin was not pushed badly. Instead, Gu Mengmeng staggered 2 steps back from the reaction. She shook her head and waved her hands as she walked to Sandy. She held on to Sandy's chubby little hand and explained like a husband who had been wrongly accused of cheating on his wife. No. There's no such thing as mating. I just thought Colin died because of me last night, so I felt guilty. Now that he's safe, I'm just too happy. It has nothing to do with taking in partners or not. But you hugged him. Sandy looked at Gu Mengmeng, her eyes filled with confusion. Females in the beast world were very precious, so they were well protected by the males. In other words, they were extremely arrogant. No matter how much the males had to go through, they would take it for granted. They would never be grateful, nor would they care about their lives. In any case, there were males everywhere. If they died, it would be his fault for being incompetent. Just look at Nina and you can see that. Her own males might not even get a hug just because she was alive, let alone other males. For the female to be so emotional and care about him, wasn't it because he was the partner she had chosen? Gu Mengmeng shook her head like a rattle drum and explained hurriedly, you know that I came from the outside? In our country, it was normal for friends to care for each other and hug each other. Some would even kiss each other when they meet. This has nothing to do with mating, it's just a way to show politeness and friendliness. Aside from the topic, yeah. Our Gu Mengmeng had unknowingly become a hooligan and molested the pure and innocent Colin. Equals is identical to sigma. Omega. Chapter 79. Care, hugs, kisses. A bloody smell enveloped Gu Mengmeng. Lee's fingertips that looked like they had been painted with nail polish slid across Gu Mengmeng's cheeks. With a hook of his finger, he pinched her tiny chin and repeated the 3 keywords word by word. His smile was deep, but it gave Gu Mengmeng goosebumps all over her body. Leah. Leah, Daddy Leah, listen to my explanation. Gu Mengmeng's knees gave way and she almost knelt on the ground out of fear. Damn it, she had watched the whole night of Black Leah. It was a wooden tower that was 2 stories high and he did not show any mercy when he threw the males from the same tribe down. Gu Mengmeng deeply felt like she was kissing her Prince Charming for the first time after chasing him for a long time. Damn it, when she turned around, her parents were standing behind her. That was a kind of thrill that even the most extreme horror movies could not bring. Damn it, what should she do? Yeah, I'm listening. Lee's smile did not diminish and he stared at Gu Mengmeng with an expression that said, I want to see how you are going to make it up. Gu Mengmeng racked her brains for a long time, but she could not think of a way that Leah could accept to explain what was social interaction and what was friendship. Damn it, in this beast world, was there any pure friendship between males and females? Damn it, even males acted out, Brokeback Mountain. How the hell was she going to explain to Leah what was pure friendship? Leader. Look for her mother at the crucial moment. That was Gu Mengmeng's last weapon. She looked at Elvis with a sullen face and wanted to ask for help, but Elvis's face was cold, clearly showing that he was on Lee's side. Damn it. Wasn't family education where one played the good cop and the other played the bad cop? When her father wanted to beat her to death, shouldn't her mother pounce on her father's thigh and say, if you want to hit me, don't hit me, I'm still a child? Why was it that when it came to her parents were on the same side? Where's the good cop? Where's the bad cop? Gu Mengmeng instantly felt that life was hopeless. She clenched her teeth and raised her head. Yes, our concern, hugs and kisses are all expressions of politeness. But I have no politeness. Lee's smile softened and became doting. He pinched Gu Mengmeng's chin lightly and shook it a few times, before letting go of her little face. He turned around and pulled her arm, throwing her back into Elvis's arms. He turned sideways to block Colin's entire line of sight. He casually fiddled with his sharp claws and said calmly, although the bonfire ceremony is over, I will still accept it if you want to challenge me. Although Colin really liked Gu Mengmeng, and that hug just now really gave him the urge to fight to the death. But if Gu Mengmeng was in a hurry to clarify and prove herself, it would be impossible for him to continue pretending to be deaf and not hearing anything. He did not mind if Gu Mengmeng did not like him. As long as he could take care of Gu Mengmeng and make her safer and happier, Colin did not really care if others liked him or not. But he did not want Gu Mengmeng to be put in a difficult position because of her. That would go against his original intentions. So Colin hurriedly waved his hands and said, No, I know I can't win. However, I won't give up. When I'm stronger, I'll challenge you again. I hope that at that time, you won't refuse to accept my challenge. Chapter 80. Elvis hugged Gu Mengmeng and gently wiped her tear-stained face. His gaze was gentle and doting and his voice was very soft. Rather than saying that he was talking to Gu Mengmeng, it would be better to say that he was talking to himself. It's good that you don't have any manners, keep it up, understand? Gu Mengmeng did not even have the energy to complain in her heart. She was after all a good young lady who had studied Mao Zedong, Deng Xiaoping, and Marxism-Leninism. Now that she was being taught not to be polite, her worldview was collapsing. Alright, let's first announce the partners you have chosen, then I'll go hunt and ask Leah to roast rabbits for you. Elvis tried his best to appear calm, not wanting Gu Mengmeng to see his anticipation. Even though Leah was the only one fighting with the challenging males last night, no one would doubt his abilities. Moreover, Gu Mengmeng's reliance on him and Leah was obvious to all, so no one would doubt their status as first partners. Now, as long as Gu Mengmeng opened her mouth and said something to give them a title, it would be enough. However, what partner? Gu Mengmeng was dumbfounded. Didn't no one beat Daddy Leah yesterday? Can't we just go home directly? Elvis smiled faintly. Gu Mengmeng, the messenger of the beast deity, really knew nothing about the rules of the beast world, but her clueless look was so lovable. Yeah, Leah worked hard for the whole night, you should at least give him a title. Elvis purposely did not mention himself, because Gu Mengmeng's attitude had already explained everything. She called his cave home. She wanted him to bring her back home, which meant that she had silently acknowledged his status as first partner. Because after the females in the beast world came of age, they would all stay in the cave of the first partner chosen during the coming-of-age ceremony. They would renovate the cave after mating, so that the females could live more comfortably, but the foundation was definitely the territory of the first partner. So his status had already been set, and there was no need to say anything more. What? What title? Gu Mengmeng stared at Elvis with her eyes wide open, then turned to look at Leah, who looked like a blood-stained lotus flower, and said with a dumbfounded face, "Daddy, Leah can't mate with me. It's against morality, it's intolerable." Lee's heart throbbed violently. He lowered his head in shock to look at where his heart was, before raising his head to look at Gu Mengmeng. She was indeed different. Because of her, this numb heart had already felt strange twice. Leah walked slowly to Gu Mengmeng, his brows slightly furrowed, not because he was angry, but because he was hurt. His slender fingers gently caressed Gu Mengmeng's face, his gaze filled with an incomprehensible hidden bitterness. "You despise me, don't like me, so you don't want me, right?" "No, no." Gu Mengmeng hurriedly shook her head and said, "You are my daddy, why would I despise you, not like you and not want you? Then why don't you let me be your mate?" Leah did not know why his emotions would be so easily affected by Gu Mengmeng. He originally wanted to mate with her because she was the messenger of the beast deity, but now, his uncontrollable heart was clearly telling him that it was not just that, he cared about this little female in front of him. That was why he tirelessly repelled everyone who tried to rush up the wooden tower last night. If not for his deep feelings for Saint Nazir, he might have lost control of his emotions and started a massacre last night. Out of topic, Gu Mengmeng, Xiao Jinzi, what are you doing? Author, digging soil. Gu Mengmeng, how old are you already, still playing with soil? Disdainful face, author, Gu Mengmeng, you are not allowed to say that about my food. Gu Mengmeng, Sigma, oh. Oh. Author, keep your shocked expression, which woman doesn't eat soil for at least 300 days a year? Elvis, Gu Mengmeng, come over, the roasted meat is ready. Gu Mengmeng sprinted away, leaving author, Gu Mengmeng's back view. What's so great about having a mate? She didn't go shopping on Singles Day and actually came to abuse dogs. Chapter 81. You are my daddy, Leah. Gu Mengmeng looked at Leah in confusion, thinking to herself, why are you saying you want to mate with me in front of Elvis? What kind of seniority is this? Leah squinted his eyes and asked, what kind of title is daddy? Does it have the same meaning as beauty? F*******. Gu Mengmeng's heart broke down. Damn it, have you never sat in a rocking car before? Never heard of a nursery rhyme called, Daddy's daddy is grandpa? Gu Mengmeng really could not give Leah a proper relationship, so she could only wink her eyes and say, Elvis is watching, what are you doing? Leah was even more confused, Elvis was watching. Was there a problem? Elvis would not object to it. Leah, let me tell you, if you continue making a fuss, Elvis will really get angry and I won't be able to help you then. Gu Mengmeng patted Lee's shoulder earnestly. But before she could finish her sentence, Elvis said quietly at the side, I'm not angry, Gu Mengmeng looked at Elvis in shock and suddenly felt discouraged. She turned to look at Leah and said, you see, this trick is useless, Leah looked into Gu Mengmeng's eyes and used his finger to lift her chin, making her look straight into his eyes. Then, he said slowly, don't avoid my question, tell me why you don't want me to be your partner? Why, do you, not like me? Gu Mengmeng slapped Lee's hand and pushed his hand away from her chin, alright, stop pretending. I told you this trick is useless, look at Elvis, he's not jealous at all. Why don't you just tell me directly, why did you two quarrel? Let me, as your daughter, help you two to reconcile. Elvis totally did not understand what Gu Mengmeng was talking about. He said in confusion, I didn't quarrel with Leah. But Leah seemed to have thought of something as he suddenly raised his head and laughed out loud for a long while, until Gu Mengmeng's hair stood on end. Only then did he forcefully stop laughing. He placed one hand on Elvis's shoulder and inched his blood-stained face towards Elvis, but his eyes were looking at Gu Mengmeng disdainfully from the side. Just as his lips were about to touch Elvis's face, he suddenly stopped and turned around to face Gu Mengmeng, who was staring at him with a pair of innocent big eyes full of anticipation. Did you think that Elvis and I are partners? Huh? Gu Mengmeng felt embarrassed as if she had been exposed. Didn't they say that it could only be understood and not explained? Why did he say it out loud? Elvis's reaction was even bigger than Gumengmeng's. It was as if he had been struck by lightning, and it was to the extent that he was charred from the inside out. His face was extremely black as he squeezed out word by word from between his teeth. Leah and I are both males. Gumengmeng looked at Elvis and said helplessly, I know, but so what? You shouldn't be so concerned about how others see you. You're not living for those people who only know how to spread rumors. It's because you're always so concerned about how others see you and not willing to face your own feelings, that's why Leah is forced to be like this. Gumengmeng got more agitated as she spoke. She pulled Leah over and pointed at him. Look at him, look at him. How much did you force him to think of using mating with me to force you to face the feelings between you two? When are you going to stop running away? Gumengmeng's serious and angry face made Elvis really want to pry open her little head to see what was inside. Aside from the topic, come, sing with me. Chapter 82. Leah, who was clearly in the midst of it all, pretended to be aggrieved while trying to hold back his laughter. He nodded his head cooperatively and looked at Elvis with a gloating expression. Elvis's forehead bulged with a thick and huge frown. He gritted his teeth and shouted, Leah. After being roared at by Elvis, a pair of furry triangular ears suddenly appeared on Lee's head. The position was the same as Sandy's little bear ears, but they were not brown like Sandy's ears. Instead, they were pure white and furry little ears without any impurities. Lee's action gave Elvis a shock. The anger he was about to explode was forcefully suppressed in his chest. One must know that a fully transformed orc would not have any beast characteristics. Could it be that Lee's ears, had they degenerated? But there was no precedent in the beast world. Elvis was about to say something when he saw Lee's fluffy big tail swinging around behind him. This time, not only Elvis, but all the orcs in St. Nazaire were shocked. Leah, degenerated? He degenerated in fear after being roared at by Elvis? Leah. Elvis's brows furrowed into a dead knot. He opened his mouth but did not know what to say. The reason why St. Nazaire could fight for a place among the strong enemies was not only because of his martial skills, but also because of Lee's schemes. No matter who was missing, St. Nazaire would always be in a precarious situation and would become the target of others' attacks at any time. Especially when Gumengmeng, the messenger of the beast deity, was about to descend. Once Gumengmeng's identity was exposed, St. Nazaire would become the target of everyone. But at this time, Leah, degenerated? Compared to the nervousness of the others, Leah was much more relaxed. A fluffy and soft tail swayed around like a feather teaser, causing Gumengmeng to involuntarily stretch out her hands to hug it in her arms. Ever since Lee's tail appeared, that pair of big innocent eyes had not shifted away at all. Her whole body was covered in pink bubbles and her eyes were filled with surprise. Lee's eyes were filled with happiness. But Leah would not let Gumengmeng have her way. It was as if he was teasing her on purpose. He would always pull away just when she was about to grab onto his tail, missing her dirty little hands by a hair's breadth. But at the same time, he did not move too far away from her. He swayed right in front of her, causing her to pounce on him again and again, as if she was a cat lured by a cat teaser. Leah smiled slyly and shook his head at Elvis, gesturing him not to worry. Then, he used his chin to point at Gumengmeng. Elvis turned back in confusion, only to realize that Gumengmeng had been teased by Lee's big tail to the point that she forgot herself. Elvis still did not quite understand. He furrowed his brows and cast a questioning look at Leah, but Leah just smiled and did not say anything. There were some things that did not need to be told to everyone. Leah swung his big tail and approached Gumengmeng step by step. Finally, he sent his fluffy tail into Gumengmeng's arms. Gumengmeng rubbed her face against Lee's big tail in satisfaction after hugging it. The satisfaction and happiness on her face could not be faked. At that moment, Lee's heart felt like it was being teased by a pair of little hands. That touch made his whole body go numb. Then, a faint sweetness spread all over his body. He wanted this female. Leah moved his face that resembled a blood-stained white lotus to Gu Mengmeng, who was playing happily. He asked in a light and ambiguous tone, "Daddy Lee's tail, do you want it?" Aside from the topic, tomorrow at 12 noon, this article will be published. Once again, I beg my little babies not to keep reading for the next 3 days. From the 13th to the 16th, please follow the article every day and leave more comments. If anyone wants to reward Jean Eyre and Gu Mengmeng, please focus on pampering them during these 3 days. Chapter 83. Gu Mengmeng nodded her head hurriedly, her big watery eyes filled with anticipation. To a furry lover like Gu Mengmeng, this big tail was too tempting. "If you accept me, this tail, and my entire body will belong to you." Leah inched forward, half leaning his body to cater to Gu Mengmeng's height. His pair of slender hands had already retracted his sharp fingertips, leaving only his white and slender fingertips, gently caressing Gu Mengmeng's little face with a tactile sensation. His tone was filled with endless ambiguity and extreme temptation. But Gu Mengmeng was so engrossed in the big tail that she could not pull herself away, but she still had her rationality, even though it was just a strand. Whoosh! Leah pulled away slightly, and the big tail in Gu Mengmeng's arms slipped out of her hands. Gu Mengmeng instinctively reached out to grab it again, but she only grabbed air. As for Leah, he transformed into a snow-white fox, looking at Gu Mengmeng with a holy and arrogant posture. He lifted one of his front paws to his lips, and stuck out his pink tongue, licking his paw nonchalantly. Pfft! Gu Mengmeng's HP was already empty. Her last bit of rationality completely broke, and she pounced over to hug Lee's neck, burying her entire body in Lee's pure white fur in satisfaction. A faint grassy fragrance entered her nose, mixed with Lee's unique scent. That was a hidden wildness, barely visible, and only faintly discernible, that was the most fascinating. Leah smiled lightly in his heart. It was really rare to see a female that liked a male body so much. If he had known this earlier, why did he use the fox seductive fragrance on her yesterday? Wouldn't it be settled if he just revealed his true form? Leah bit Gu Mengmeng's collar lightly, flung her onto his back, then moaned softly to Elvis, before sprinting away like a ray of light. Elvis shook his head helplessly, then transformed into a wolf and followed closely behind. The males under the wooden pagoda could only watch as the black and white shadows disappeared before their eyes, and none of them had the right to chase after them. Just now, Leah let Gu Mengmeng get on his back, right? Male A said. Yeah, I didn't see wrongly this time. Leah really carried Gu Mengmeng on his back. The male B replied. In that case. Male A suddenly recalled the day when Gu Mengmeng first came to Saint Nazaire. Elvis also threw her on his back and ran away. At that time, they thought they had seen wrongly. But now that she thought about it, Saint Nazaire's strongest fighting power and wisest witch doctor seemed to be willing to submit to Gu Mengmeng, offering her their lifelong loyalty. Yes, we didn't see wrongly that day. Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng on his back then. Male B and Male A had the same idea. The two injured males gave each other a fist bump and smiled against the sunlight. Looks like if we want to mate with Gu Mengmeng, we have to work harder to improve our abilities. Otherwise, it would be impossible to get Elvis and Lee's approval. Makes sense, Male A agreed. But none of them noticed that behind the crowd, there was a pair of vicious eyes staring hatefully at the direction where Gu Mengmeng, Leah, and Elvis disappeared. A pair of withered and wrinkled hands ruthlessly pinched the arm of the male beside her, but the male could not care less about his bleeding arm, only hugging her shoulders lightly and coaxing, "All right, Nina, don't be angry." Chapter 84. Leah and Elvis returned to Elvis's cave one after another. Leah stopped at the entrance of Elvis's cave and transformed into a human but kept his tail and ears in his beast form. He did not seem to mind that others might think he was a lowly half-orc now. He just laid on his side seductively and used his large tail to encircle Gu Mengmeng in his arms. While using his large tail to tease Gu Mengmeng, who was playing happily, he looked at her with a doting expression and asked, "Can I go in?" Gu Mengmeng could not bear to let go of this large tail at all. Moreover, It was not like Leah had never entered Elvis's cave before. What reason did she have to reject him? So she nodded hurriedly and said, "Yes, yes, of course you can." Leah nodded his head in satisfaction and exchanged glances with Elvis, saying, "Go ahead and hunt, leave this to me." Elvis did not transform back into his human form as he was afraid that he would reveal his jealousy. Gu Mengmeng liked Lee's original form so much, but she did not even look at him, who had also transformed into a wolf. Looking at Gu Mengmeng nestling in Lee's arms in satisfaction, Elvis suppressed the sourness in his heart and nodded before turning to run away. He used his speed to challenge his body's limits to numb the irritation in his heart. He kept telling himself that he and Leah were both Gu Mengmeng's partners and it was fine as long as she was happy. After Elvis left, Leah hooked Gu Mengmeng's little chin lightly and turned her little face towards him. Looking at her hugging his tail innocently and not letting go, Leah felt a strange feeling in his heart once again. It was as if a warm current was spreading from his left chest to the rest of his body. That feeling was very warm, very comfortable, and made one yearn for it. Tell me, what should Elvis's title be when it corresponds to Daddy Leah? Gu Mengmeng blinked her eyes and answered without thinking, "Old Godmother." Leah raised his eyebrows. He could not differentiate between Daddy and Godmother, and would not know that Old Godmother was a type of chili sauce. He could only compare from the literal meaning and pronunciation before nodding his head in approval, saying, "Yeah, I still like the title, Daddy Leah." "Come on, say it again." Gu Mengmeng blushed. When she wanted to hug his thighs, she just blurted it out. But now that there were only the two of them, this demon was still looking at her ambiguously and asking her to call him Daddy. It was so damn embarrassing. "You're not calling me?" Leah tilted his beautiful eyes and said as if he was hurt, "You called me so intimately before you got me. Now that I'm yours, you're not even willing to say a nickname? Meng Meng, you are so heartless." "What?" Gu Mengmeng shuddered and said in shock, "Don't spout nonsense. I didn't pounce on you. How did you become mine?" "Pooh." Leah did not seem surprised by Gu Mengmeng's reaction. He just ruminated over the word pounce before asking with a sincere expression, "You just pounced from Elvis's arms to me in front of everyone in the tribe. You even hugged me, touched and played with me for a long time. Now, are you going to turn against me and refuse to admit it?" Gu Mengmeng shook her head and waved her hands. It was a common feeling of being unable to explain herself. How the hell was she going to explain that this PU was not the PU? It was all her fault for being blinded by lust. She couldn't control her urges when she saw a body of flawless white fur. But what she had pounced on was a fox, the kind of high-class pet. Aside from the topic, don't rush, Elvis's status has not been decided yet. It's impossible for Leah to be promoted. Chapter 85. In the future, you're not allowed to say that I'm not yours. Do you understand? Leah used one hand to hold on to Gu Mengmeng's hand that was waving like a windshield wiper and pulled it into his arms. Gu Mengmeng drowned in Lee's fluffy big tail while Leah caressed Gu Mengmeng's little head from time to time. He said in a slightly reproachful tone, "I don't want to be abandoned." Gu Mengmeng hugged onto Lee's big tail without letting go and said tearlessly, "Daddy Leah, I didn't abandon you, but I really can't mate with you." "You didn't abandon me, but you can't mate with me. Do you still want to pair me up with Elvis?" Leah smiled evilly. He placed his elbows on the ground and supported his chin with his palm. He looked at Gu Mengmeng coquettishly and said, "If Gu Mengmeng likes it, I can cooperate once in a while. But if it's for a long time, even if I agree, Elvis won't agree." Pfft. Gu Mengmeng felt her nose bleeding. Her already empty blood tank was overdrawn. "Leah, does your mother know how dirty you are?" At first glance, Gu Mengmeng still felt that Leah was as pure and holy as a flower on a high mountain, not to be messed with. His image had crumbled too quickly. What the heck? In just one night, Leah had walked further and further down the path of corruption, as though he was never going to return. Leah held on to Gu Mengmeng's hand gently. The gentleness in his eyes could almost be squeezed out. He looked at Gu Mengmeng affectionately and said, "Gu Mengmeng, promise me, no matter what, don't abandon me, alright? Unknowingly, Gu Mengmeng's heart was suddenly touched violently. Li's gaze was clearly smiling and gentle, but Gu Mengmeng felt as if she could see an unknown scar in that pair of eyes. Leah, what had he experienced? Gu Mengmeng kept her joking thoughts and frowned slightly. She looked back at Leah and deliberated for a long time before shaking her head and saying, I can't promise something I can't do. You're very good, but I can't mate with you. Why? Hearing Gu Mengmeng's rejection, Li's heart tightened. The question that he blurted out caught him off guard. Why would he care about the reason? According to his original personality, no matter what her reason was, he would always have a way to make her comply with his wishes. But why did he care about why now? Gu Mengmeng lowered her head, not daring to look into Li's eyes. Rejecting someone was a stressful matter, especially rejecting Leah, a Prince Charming whom Gu Mengmeng could not match up to no matter how she looked at it. The stress was even greater. And when the Prince Charming was still looking at you with an infatuated expression, the pressure was so great that it felt like the atmosphere was about to explode. Marriage. Oh, no, mating is an important matter that affects the entire generation. It can't be done casually or carelessly. Leah hooked Gu Mengmeng's chin with his finger. He liked the way she looked at him. When he could clearly see himself in her clear eyes, he felt an indescribable sense of satisfaction. And her avoidance made his heart uneasy. But this time, Leah felt that he was wrong. Why was it that when he saw the clear guilt and apology in her eyes, his heart felt as if it was being slowly pierced by a sharp claw? That pain lasted for a long time and he could clearly feel every minute and inch of it. I'm willing to pledge my lifelong loyalty to you, not carelessly or casually. Leah retracted his arm and pulled Gu Mengmeng into his embrace, avoiding her serious gaze. Their faces were pressed against each other and Li's lips moved softly beside Gu Mengmeng's ear. Mengmeng, believe me, I'm serious. Aside from the topic, on the first day of the PK, I'll add more updates. My little babies, please leave a comment whether Gu Mengmeng would have meat to eat in the future depended on everyone. Chapter 86. But Gu Mengmeng felt a tightness in her throat. She was really not good at rejecting, but no matter how seductive or immortal Leah was, Gu Mengmeng really could not entrust her entire life to him so carelessly. We've only known each other for 3 days. You still have a lifetime to slowly familiarize yourself with me. Leah supported the back of Gu Mengmeng's head with one hand, while the other wrapped around her waist tightly. He was afraid that he would hurt her if he used more strength, but he was afraid that she would break free and never come back if he used less strength. Gu Mengmeng tried to push Leah away, but to no avail. Compared to males, even if she had 2 years of bodybuilding training, she was still considered a weak girl without the strength to truss a chicken. Leah, I'm sorry. Gu Mengmeng gave up struggling and allowed Leah to hug her like that. She knew that males in the beast world had extremely good hearing, so with the distance between them, even if her voice was soft, Leah would definitely be able to hear it clearly. A lifetime is too heavy a promise. I can't give my entire life to someone I've only known for 3 days. Li's back stiffened. He thought that after what happened in the past, his heart would no longer hurt, but he was wrong. But you accepted Elvis. Leah looked down, a tinge of dejection in his eyes. Huh? Gu Mengmeng's brain was a little slow. She seemed to know something incredible, but could not explain exactly what it was. Leah looked at Gu Mengmeng's reaction and suddenly asked, not knowing whether to laugh or cry, don't tell me, you don't intend to mate with Elvis too? What a joke. Elvis is my godmother. Gu Mengmeng jumped up out of reflex, but after saying that, she suddenly remembered, damn, Elvis helped her change her sanitary pad before, and he even changed his clothes from head to toe, F***ck. What happened to the promised sisters, godmother and daughter? Gu Mengmeng looked up at the sky and sighed, I've been tricked by a wild wolf. Leah laughed and squinted his eyes. His gaze drifted to the distance, looking calm but with a hint of murderous intent. So, the first partner in your heart is Barit? How is that possible? Gu Mengmeng shook her head heartlessly. I only see Barit as a friend. The kind of friend who can care, hug and kiss. Leah raised his eyebrows and asked. Gu Mengmeng face-bombed. Damn it, could this joke ever get over with? Seeing that Gu Mengmeng did not reply, Leah curled his large tail and scooped Gu Mengmeng into his arms. Her tiny waist was pressed tightly against Lee's firm abs and both her feet were off the ground. Other than Leah, she did not have any other support points. So she could only wrap her arms around Lee's neck to maintain her balance, but her upper body instinctively moved backwards, trying to widen the distance between them. But why would Leah let her have her way? One of his hands had already grabbed the back of her head and fixed her in front of him at a distance of about a fist. With a smile that was not a smile, he said, Meng Meng, if you feel that 3 days is too short and is not enough for you to believe my sincerity, then, before you feel that it is long enough, let me be your friend. The kind of friend that you can care, hug, kiss. As Leah spoke, he slowly inched forward. His target was naturally Gu Mengmeng's tender and delicious lips. Gu Mengmeng crossed her arms in front of her chest and blocked Lee's kiss. She laughed dryly, ha, ha ha, it's good to be friends. Let's start from being friends. Friends can kiss. Leah said unhappily. There are many types of friends too. Not every friend can be kissed. Gu Mengmeng said seriously. No. Leah raised his head and said in a slightly commanding tone with a sense of pride, I want to be your only friend. Other than me, you cannot be polite to any other friend, or else I will kill him. Leah raised his head and looked at Gu Mengmeng. Aside from the topic, come, my little babies. Today's prize-winning question and answer session, old godmother's real name is ________. The first prize for answering correctly is XXB30, the second prize is 20, the third prize is 10. The prize for 40 minus 10 is 5. The prize for 11 minus 20 is 2. It's just a small token for fun, babies, don't despise it. Chapter 87. Leah looked serious and Gu Mengmeng could not help but recall his decisiveness last night, as well as the blurry image in the depths of her memory. On a dark and windy night, that man whose face could not be seen clearly carried her with one hand, while the other hand easily broke Colin's arm, saving her from the hands of the Grim Reaper. She would not doubt Lee's words. This was the beast world, where violence was justice and only the strong could enjoy the spoils. Leah had enough ability to fulfill every word he said, and even if he did it, no one would find it inappropriate. The winner was the king, that was the logic. But the education and living environment that Gu Mengmeng had received meant that she was unable to accept the fact that human life was just an ordinary and common setting like everyone else here. She was even more unable to accept the fact that others would simply die because of her. Leah, the world is so beautiful, but you are so hot-tempered. This is not good, not good. Gu Mengmeng nodded her head seriously, trying to convince Leah to give up on that cruel idea. Lee's coquettish gaze landed on Gu Mengmeng's little face. His index finger gently lifted her little chin and accepted her gaze. The corners of his lips curled up slightly, making him look extremely flirtatious, graceful and noble with unparalleled elegance. Call me Daddy. For some reason, Leah liked this title very much. Even though he did not know what Daddy was. Gu Mengmeng's lips twitched, what an instant drama. She even suspected that what Leah had said just now was purposely teasing her. Not calling me that. Gu Mengmeng turned her head away proudly, who was not a baby. Really not calling me? Leah was not angry, he just swayed his big tail lightly and looked at Sandy who was walking towards them from afar, deep in thought. He said, this world is not so beautiful after all. Gu Mengmeng followed Lee's gaze and saw that Sandy had already walked to the edge of Elvis's territory, receiving a pile of unknown things from his males. She carried them and walked towards them. Leah seemed to be doing it on purpose, his slender and bony fingers stretched out one by one in front of Gu Mengmeng, his fingertips growing sharp nails at a speed visible to the naked eye. Was he going to be irritable? Gu Mengmeng immediately gave up on her principles and hugged onto Lee's thighs. "Daddy Leah, please calm down." Leah pretended to be hesitant as he looked at Sandy and then at Gu Mengmeng. He asked with 30% threat and 70% anticipation, "Between Sandy and me, who do you like more?" Gu Mengmeng flattered him without any principles, "I like Daddy Leah." Leah smiled in satisfaction and retracted his fingernails. He tapped Gu Mengmeng's little nose lightly and said, "Don't call others daddy, this title belongs to me only." "Yes, Daddy Leah." Gu Mengmeng nodded her head vigorously. She did not have the habit of going around looking for someone's father, so why would she not agree? Good. Leah was extremely satisfied. Although he did not gain Gu Mengmeng's approval to become her partner, it was already a good progress to be able to live together with her. Leah did not want to force Gu Mengmeng too much, in case he scared her. So he rubbed her furry little head and said, "Go and play with Sandy, I think Elvis should be back soon. Daddy Leah will roast the rabbit for you later." Gu Mengmeng really wanted to tell Leah that calling himself Daddy Leah was very Chinibu, but when the words reached the tip of her tongue, she chose to swallow them back into her stomach. She nodded obediently and said, "All right." Out of topic, "Oh, yes. Just to clarify. All activities are limited to little friends who leave messages in the message area of Xiaoxiang Academy. Because Xiaoxiang's authors don't have a backer on QQ Reading, we can't set up any rewards. Dear readers, if you are willing to have fun with Jeaner, please download the Xiaoxiang Academy app also, leave a message, leave a message. Collect, collect, collect. Chapter 88. Leah gently let go of Gu Mengmeng and placed her on the ground steadily. Then, he slowly stretched out his large tail and followed Gu Mengmeng's rhythm as she ran towards Sandy until his tail could no longer touch her. Leah retracted his tail and looked at Gu Mengmeng's radiant smile with a doting expression. He pondered over what Gu Mengmeng had said just now. The world was so beautiful, yeah, it was indeed beautiful. This was unprecedented. Leah turned around to start a fire. Although he was fearful of the fire demon, it was a necessity for his Gu Mengmeng to eat. So what if he had to use his bones as firewood? On the other side, Gu Mengmeng pounced towards Sandy happily. She took the things from her hands and asked, "Why did you bring so many things over?" Sandy distributed the things to Gu Mengmeng and said, "You left just like that just now and forgot to take the yellow gravy that everyone gave you." Gu Mengmeng slapped her forehead in realization. Then, she rubbed her hands together with a money grubber face and said, "Ayaya, that's great Sandy, you're really my lucky star. Elvis just happened to go hunting. Let's roast meat with honey later." Sandy remembered that Gu Mengmeng mentioned before that their original tribe called the yellow gravy honey. At the thought of roast meat, Sandy swallowed her saliva instinctively. But looking at Leah, who was starting a fire behind Gu Mengmeng, Sandy twisted her fingers and said with some grievance, "Today is the first time Elvis and Leah are your partners. This day is too precious to them." Sandy looked at the yellow gravy in Gu Mengmeng's hands. She imagined the combination of the sweet yellow gravy and the delicious roast meat and what kind of amazing taste would be produced. That would definitely be an unprecedented delicacy. Wiping away the saliva that flowed down from the corner of her mouth, Sandy endured the huge torment in her heart and said, "I'll come and eat with you next time." Before she finished her sentence, Sandy had already turned around to leave. But her pair of meaty feet were rooted to the ground and could not move an inch. Gu Mengmeng looked at Sandy's struggling back view and the meaty hands that were purposely left behind for her to hold. She burst out laughing. She walked to the front of Sandy and stuffed the yellow gravy into her arms. "Leah, Elvis and I don't have that kind of relationship. If you want to know the details, why don't you stay and eat with us? Let's talk while we eat." Huh. Sandy's heart sank into two huge whirlpools. The whirlpool on the left was why Gu Mengmeng said that Leah and Elvis did not have the kind of relationship she had imagined. The whirlpool on the right was, when would the roasted meat be cooked? Which one should I ask first? Sandy was extremely conflicted. Gu Mengmeng looked at Sandy's conflicted expression and nudged her with her shoulder. Stop daydreaming and come over to help. Ah. Oh, okay. Sandy was a little excited. Help. Gu Mengmeng asked her for help. Ever since she was young, she had only been waiting to eat, drink, and be taken care of. When she was young, it was her father, and when she grew up, it was her partner. They had always told her, be good and wait, it will be ready soon. This was the first time someone had asked her for help. Sandy was so agitated that she almost cried, but Gu Mengmeng had no idea what kind of feeling she had brought to Sandy's heart. Wasn't it normal for best friends to help each other out? Sandy blindly followed behind Gu Mengmeng, her little hands clutching the sides of her dress nervously. Her eyes shone with anticipation and nervousness. What would Gu Mengmeng ask her to do? She seemed to not know how to do anything. Aside from the topic, Jean brought Gu Mengmeng, Elvis and Leah. Asking for love in all sorts of ways. Please don't be a novelist, you must catch up with the updates. Chapter 89. Gu Mengmeng skipped to Lee's side with Sandy. At this moment, Leah had just started a small fire by mimicking how Elvis had drilled wood to start a fire on the punishment platform. Leah frowned slightly. Animals had a more sensitive sense of smell than humans, and orcs had a better sense of smell than animals. The smoke had obviously made Leah choke. Gu Mengmeng had always been a person who took pity on beauties. Her heart ached when she saw Leah in pain. She hurriedly took over the wooden stick from Lee's hands and said, "It's all right, Daddy Leah, go and rest. Leave this to me and Sandy." Lee's lips curled up slightly. He liked how Gu Mengmeng was concerned about him. With a slight curl of his big tail, he circled Gu Mengmeng and placed her behind him, using his body to block the smoke for her. He looked at her gently from the corner of his eye and said, "My heart will ache if I choke you." Thump, thump, Daddy Leah was really good at flirting. Gu Mengmeng felt her bones soften and she almost drowned in Lee's faint smile that could turn all living things upside down. No way. No way. Gu Mengmeng turned to look at Sandy, who was sitting obediently at the side. "Are those your males squatting and smelling the smoke over there?" Sandy looked in the direction that Gu Mengmeng was pointing at. She then turned around and nodded at Gu Mengmeng. "Yeah, it's Bode and the rest. Why don't they come over?" Gu Mengmeng was puzzled. Sandy seemed to be used to Gu Mengmeng's lack of common sense. She did not think much about it and just patiently explained. "This is Elvis's territory. Without his permission, other males cannot enter as they please. If not for you, even a female like me cannot enter as she pleases." Gu Mengmeng asked in a daze, "Has Elvis always been so unsociable and doesn't interact with others?" Sandy could not help but shake her head. It's not that Elvis is unsociable. Every male has his own sense of territory. He can't offend any other males or else he will be seen as a provocation and be attacked. Gu Mengmeng blinked and rubbed her chin. "Then what if I want to look for you in the future? If I accidentally enter someone else's territory, won't I die a horrible death?" As Leah added dried leaves to the fire, he said nonchalantly, "Don't worry, you have Elvis and me, no one can hurt you." Gu Mengmeng's eyes sparkled like stars. She clasped her hands in front of her chest and looked at Leah with admiration. "Daddy Leah is so reliable." Leah smiled without saying a word. He was in a good mood as he added a bunch of dried leaves to the fire, almost extinguishing the small flame that had just started. "Gu Mengmeng, why did you call Leah Daddy? What exactly does Daddy mean?" Sandy tilted her head and asked Gu Mengmeng with a curious look. "Papa." Gu Mengmeng felt a deep sense of despair. The papa and mama combo was the first word she learned when she was learning to speak, but she did not know how to use literal words to explain this form of address. After thinking for a while, Gu Mengmeng finally squeezed out a sentence. "Daddy is the most reliable male in this world. He will save us from any danger or hardship. No matter what kind of difficulties we encounter, he will stand in front of us and protect us for the rest of our lives. Daddy is the only male in this world who will never abandon us or betray us." She said, the only. Lee's heart skipped a beat. This was the first time he heard such a familiar yet foreign word from a female. Was he, the only, she said. Aside from the topic, today's Q&A, Sandy has a crush on a single male in St. Nazaire. May I ask if this male is ______? Same rules, the first baby who answers correctly will get XXB 30, the second will get 20, the third will get 10. 11 to 25. 21 to 33. Chapter 90. Oh, so daddy is what you two partners call each other. Hee, then I will also call Bode Daddy Bode in the future. Sandy thought that daddy was like honey and was just a dialect. But before she could finish her sentence, she felt a chill down her spine. She looked towards the source of the chill and saw Leah smiling at her with a burning wooden stick in one hand. That smile was so cold that it sent shivers down one's spine. Crack. The wooden stick in Lee's hand was crushed into pieces and some sparks splashed onto Lee's body. However, he did not care and just maintained that cold smile. In a clear voice, he said, "This title belongs to me." Oh. Sandy shrank her neck and nodded pitifully. Leah was so scary when he had a partner. He even threatened females. He was not like this in the past. Sobs. She wanted to cry but did not dare to. She felt so wronged. Seeing that the atmosphere was a little awkward, Gu Mengmeng laughed dryly. She held Sandy's little hand in her arms and said, "Daddy does not mean partner. It is a kind of blood relationship, a kind of familial love. It is a kind of connection that cannot be severed no matter what. It is very simple but also very complicated. I will explain it to you when I have the chance in the future. Now let's talk about roasted meat. All right?" "Yeah." Sandy nodded her head as if she understood but did not probe further. She only hoped that the chapter on Daddy would be over as soon as possible. Lee's face darkened even more and he looked especially angry. Because, Gu Mengmeng just said that Daddy did not mean partner. You do not intend to mate with Leah? Sandy grasped the main point with a face full of shock. She completely ignored the fact that Lee's veins were popping out from her roar. Gu Mengmeng shook her head honestly and said, "At my place, we do not mate as soon as we reach adulthood. We will start off as friends and after we understand each other to a certain extent, we will become lovers when we feel that it is right. After a few years of dating, we will get used to each other and when everything is right, we will then seek the approval of both families and become partners under the blessings of all our friends and family." Sandy was confused. Friends, wasn't it like the relationship between her and Gu Mengmeng? Will we become lovers in the future? Sandy asked in confusion. Pfft. Gu Mengmeng burst out in laughter. "My sexual orientation is normal, I only like pretty boys. You don't like me anymore?" Sandy's eyes were misty, and it looked like she was about to burst into tears. It wasn't easy for her to make a friend. If Gu Mengmeng didn't like her, then would she become all alone again? Although her partners treated her very well and loved her very much, she always felt that there were some things that she couldn't tell them. But Gu Mengmeng was different. Although they had only known each other for a short 2 days, Gu Mengmeng gave her a very warm and special feeling. She really liked Gu Mengmeng. Gu Mengmeng laughed heartily and hugged Sandy tightly. She rubbed her furry little ears and said, "The like I mentioned is referring to the choice of partners. As a good friend and bestie, I like it a lot, really?" Sandy asked doubtfully. Her big innocent and clear eyes fluttered, making Gu Mengmeng's heart soften. "Of course it's true. You are kind and pure, gentle and cute, kind and not pretentious, friendly and caring. What reason do I have not to like you?" Gu Mengmeng held Sandy's chubby little face in her hands and kissed her. Sandy blushed and giggled. "I like you the most too." Sandy blushed and giggled. "I like you the most too." Aside from the topic, the competition is tomorrow and I don't know what the outcome will be either. I'm so nervous, so nervous. Babies, let's give it a try. bookmark and leave a message if you have any flowers, give them to me. Chapter 91. In your world, all males and females start off as friends, then become lovers, before finally becoming partners? Sandy blinked her big innocent eyes and tilted her head to ask. Gu Mengmeng played with Li's big tail while nodding her head and answering, not necessarily. We have a phrase called love at first sight. It's two people who can recognize each other in the bustling crowd, as if they are the other half of you that you have been searching for years. Then, the heavenly thunder and the earthly fire went out of control, and they got married just like that. Oh, marriage means mating. Sandy nodded her head as if she understood, then continued asking, then why didn't you fall in love with Leah at first sight? Cough, cough. Gu Mengmeng almost choked to death on her own saliva. Sneaking a peek at Leah, he was indeed smiling, but that smile looked dangerous no matter how she looked at it, as if he would rush up and strangle Sandy anytime. Gu Mengmeng roared in her heart, I say, Sandy, you have to be more careful. Why did you have to rub it in? But even though she was cursing in her heart, Gu Mengmeng still had to come out to smooth things over. So she shrugged her shoulders and avoided Li's gaze guiltily. It was clearly written in his eyes, please start your performance, I am waiting to hear your explanation. Gu Mengmeng opened her mouth to say something, but almost bit her own tongue. But Sandy did not let it go, and added another stab, don't you like pretty older brothers? Leah is so pretty. Gu Mengmeng face-bombed, she decided to give Sandy the Best Bad Friend award. But Leah smiled, and whispered into Gu Mengmeng's ear like a spring breeze, in the entire beast world, I am afraid there is no one more good-looking than me, so, you like me, how about that? Ha, ha ha. Gu Mengmeng thought to herself, was Daddy Leah selling himself? Wasn't he afraid that she would really pounce on him after being obsessed with him? Oh, he definitely did not know that there was a phrase in the modern world called fast food love, the kind that leaves after eating without taking responsibility. Just as Gu Mengmeng was fretting over how to reply, she saw a black wolf with something in its mouth dashing towards her from afar. Strangely enough, Gu Mengmeng did not feel afraid at all when such a ferocious beast pounced on her. Instead, she felt a sense of familiarity and intimacy. She jumped down from Li's tail, waved at the black wolf and shouted, Leader, Elvis's heart warmed. This was the first time he understood the meaning of family. In that dark, cold cave, there is a little girl waiting for you to come back. That was why he unconsciously sped up when he was hunting just now, as if something was pulling him back quickly. So, this was what it meant to be anxious to return home. It was only because she was waiting for him, and he couldn't wait to see her wave at him. As Elvis decelerated, he transformed into human form to prevent himself from crashing into her. Elvis grasped the perfect distance. After he completed his transformation and deceleration, he stood steadily in front of Gu Mengmeng, with a distance of half a step between them. Holding a bunch of rabbits in his hand, Elvis could not wait to wrap his other hand around Gu Mengmeng's shoulder and bring her into his arms. Gu Mengmeng, who was clearly a small ball, so soft that it seemed as if she would break with just a little force, had such an indescribable and wonderful power that made him yearn and go crazy. And Gu Mengmeng, who was in his arms, felt even crazier. Leader, where's your beastskin dress? Aside from the topic, Gu Mengmeng, Sandy, it's the group interview time now. May I know how do you feel about receiving the honor of being the best worst friend? Sandy, firstly, I want to thank my papa and mama. Without them, I would not have been born. Secondly, I want to thank CCTV, Beast World TV and all the other TV channels. Thank you for everyone's recognition and love for me. Of course, the person I want to thank the most is my best friend, Gu Mengmeng. If it wasn't for your help, I would never have received this award. Half of this honor is mine, and the other half is yours. Chapter 92. Bo. Leader, your clothes. Gu Mengmeng said each word with a trembling voice. Her entire body froze and she did not dare to move an inch. Yes, she was a girl who was slightly infatuated with girls, but that was only in the area of moving her mouth. When it came to real combat, she had the heart but not the guts to do it. Elvis hugged Gu Mengmeng, not willing to let go. He enjoyed the endless warmth that she gave him, and the blissful feeling that spread throughout his body made him sink in and infatuated with her. Where are your clothes? Gu Mengmeng swallowed her saliva. Damn, every single hair on her body was reminding her that she was being hugged by a naked male. Any careless touch would cause goosebumps all over her body to fall off. I threw it on the way. Elvis would never say that his beast-skin dress was torn off by a tree branch because he was in a hurry to see her. He was too stingy to turn back to pick it up for 2 seconds, so he transformed into his beast form and ran back. Gu Mengmeng swallowed her saliva and silently cursed Leader for being so rich. The fist-sized luminous pearl was crushed just like that, and the top-quality fur was thrown away just like that. Rich. What about that? Sandy is watching. Gu Mengmeng really wanted to push Elvis, but any random movement of hers now would very likely cause her to touch something that she should not touch. So Gu Mengmeng could only stiffen her body and breathe carefully, afraid that it would cause unnecessary misunderstandings. Elvis's lips curled up and a strange feeling spread in his heart. She minded other females seeing his body. Help me wear it. Elvis stretched his hand out to Leah, and Leah took down the beast-skin dress hanging near the entrance of the cave and threw it to him. Elvis caught the beast-skin dress steadily and hooked it with one finger to hang it in front of Gu Mengmeng, looking like he was going to be naked if she did not help him wear it. Gu Mengmeng was free and hurriedly took a small step back to widen the distance between them. But this step back, she could see it even more clearly. Gu Mengmeng, whose face was as red as a pig's liver, snatched the beast-skin dress from Elvis's fingers and wrapped it around Elvis's waist messily. She tied a dead knot in a flurry and only heaved a sigh of relief after ensuring that it would not fall off. He awkwardly changed the topic. Boss, what did you hunt back? Rabbit. Elvis picked up a bunch of rabbits tied together with grass that he had casually thrown aside and passed it to Gu Mengmeng. Yeah, after squatting down, he realized that Gu Mengmeng's beast-skin dress was worn really well. Although it was so tightly wrapped around his flesh that a slight movement could break the dress, the suffocating feeling was still pretty good. Look, there's a red mark on her waist. How beautiful it is. How artistic. Oh, the feeling of pain was just right to make every cell in his body excited so deliciously. Elvis's smile grew wider. He decided that unless Gu Mengmeng personally took off this dress, he would continue wearing it like this. Gu Mengmeng's face was still burning hot. She had no time to pay attention to Elvis's strange expression and Lee's deep gaze. She just took the rabbits and frowned her delicate crescent brows, asking, Boss, did you catch all the rabbits in this nest to extinction? Yeah. Elvis replied with a single word cheerfully. He did not know what extinction meant. Gu Mengmeng lifted the bunch of rabbits in her hands and asked, even the nests? Not a single one was left behind, right? Yeah. Elvis continued nodding his head cheerfully. Gu Mengmeng's lips twitched. She sat cross-legged on the ground and started to untie the little rabbits. She said as she untied them, you should at least leave a descendant for others, or else we won't have any rabbits to eat in the future. Aside from the topic, my babies, today is the last day of the PK, collect your comments and click them tomorrow when the results are out. I will inform my babies immediately through the author's words. Today's prize-winning question and answer, Gina is planning to do something. Please listen to the question, are you a fan of Air Meng or a fan of Lai Meng? Or, are you a fan of Air Meng? Leave a comment and tell us your faction. Let's see how many people are on the same side as you. Chapter 93. Alright. Elvis did not care about the reason, as long as she said it, he was willing to do it. Gu Mengmeng untied the 4 little rabbits and looked around. She handed the rabbits to Sandy and ran to a nearby place to pull the tree vines. The tree vines did not look too thick, but it took some effort to pull them out. Gu Mengmeng pulled until the skin on her palms broke, but she did not manage to pull off 2 to 3. She could only hold on to the tree vines and turn back to look at Elvis pitifully. Leader, please protect me. All right. Elvis's eyes were filled with indulgence and love. He walked forward slowly and pulled lightly, causing the tree vines to fall onto the ground. Is it enough? Elvis looked at Gu Meng Meng, who was squatting on the ground, to pick up the tree vines, and asked. Enough, enough. Satisfied, Gu Meng Meng picked out a huge bunch of tree vines before skipping back to Sandy's side. She sat down cross-legged and tied the tree vines one by one, before starting to weave a simple little cage. She asked while weaving, "Leader, you only hunted rabbits? Nothing else?" Elvis's eyes lit up with smiles. He thought that the messenger of the beast deity could only eat rabbits. He had been worrying on the way back, wondering if he could catch enough rabbits to feed her for the entire winter. Hearing her question now, did it mean that the messenger of the beast deity could eat other things other than rabbits? This would greatly increase her chances of survival. To Elvis, there was no better news. Just cows, sheep, pigs, and so on. Gu Meng Meng said while weaving the cage. Elvis thought for a while. If there was anything similar between rabbits, cows, sheep, and pigs, it should be that they were all animals with 4 legs on the ground. Following this pattern, Elvis tried asking, cows, sheep, and pigs are rarely seen. Tigers, leopards, and wolves, are they okay? Gu Meng Meng was so shocked that she looked up at Elvis in shock. Was it really okay to have such a heavy taste? You still eat wolves? Gu Meng Meng could not accept the truth. Elvis was a wolf himself, how could he still eat wolves? Wouldn't it feel like he was eating his own kind? Just thinking about it made her feel burdened. Elvis, however, was unconcerned. He just shrugged and said, "Becoming food is the fate of the weak." Ha! Gu Meng Meng was speechless. The weak were prey to the strong, survival of the fittest. There seemed to be nothing wrong with this barbaric era. Hence, Gu Meng Meng could only shrug her shoulders and did not reply. She quickened her pace, and in no time, she had finished weaving the small cage. Sandy was already looking at Gu Meng Meng with starry eyes full of admiration. She felt that Gu Meng Meng was practically glowing. Gu Meng Meng opened the small door of the cage and placed the little rabbits inside one by one. She then used tree vines to make a lock and finally placed the cage in a shady spot at the entrance of the cave. She turned around and said to Sandy, "Let's keep these 4 little ones as pets and play with them." Sandy tilted her head and blinked. "Why don't you raise males as pets? She can make us happy and take care of us." The corners of Gu Meng Meng's mouth twitched. In his heart, he cursed, "Sandy, can you not use such an innocent expression and tone to say such hardcore words? What do you mean by raising males as pets? F********. Why does it feel like a landlord raising a mistress? How could a good socialist youth do such a thing?" Thinking about this, Gu Meng Meng's eyes darted towards Elvis and Leah. Damn it, these 2 fellows were just like the cool version of Teacher Cat in Natsume's Friends account, and the black version of Sesomaru in Inuyasha. With this kind of physique, how could they be pets? Are you kidding me? Aside from the topic, the kill temple of Sesomaru in Inuyasha does not have a black version. If you want to see it, please Photoshop it yourself. Another thing, Inuyasha is an anime with a more aged feel. Many children should not have seen it before. But for the details of the kill temple, you can refer to the cover of this article. That furry and handsome male is our kill temple. Chapter 94. Leah noticed Gu Meng Meng sizing him up and inched his face closer to Gu Meng Meng with evil intentions. He said ambiguously with an intimate posture, "You want me to be your beast pet?" No, how can I? Gu Meng Meng felt embarrassed as if she was caught red-handed. She waved her 2 little hands and hurriedly denied. Why not? Leah, on the other hand, seemed to be a little disappointed. He pulled Gu Meng Meng into his arms. Leah used his index finger to gently lift Gu Meng Meng's chin, his moist lip stopping at the tip of Gu Meng Meng's nose. His fragrance was so sweet that Gu Meng Meng's nose sank into it. Gu Meng Meng shuddered and stared at Leah, who was so close to her, dumbfounded. She did not dare to say anything. Leah then felt a little better. Although he did not say it, he was jealous of Gu Mengmeng's reaction when Elvis hugged her just now. This light taste was just to make up for it. Leah smiled in satisfaction. The tip of his tongue was still savoring the taste that belonged to her on his taste buds. It was slightly sweet and tasty. As a beast pet, how about a snow fox? Pure white, magnificent, able to pray for blessings and cure illnesses. Leah suddenly smiled meaningfully, then moved his lips to Gu Mengmeng's ear and bit on her exquisite earlobe. Then, he huffed and said, "The kind that can also warm the bed." Gu Mengmeng's eyes lit up. Pfft, blood flowed uncontrollably from Gu Mengmeng's nostrils. F******. Daddy Leah broke the rules. Aya, Gu Mengmeng, you're bleeding. Sandy appeared to be even more nervous than Elvis and Leah. Her roar snapped the two of them back to their senses. Why was she bleeding from her nose? Did she hurt her head? When Leah was beating someone up last night, did someone get past Leah and hurt Gu Mengmeng? It shouldn't be. The two males fell into a state of confusion. Gu Mengmeng raised her head and pinched her nose. She waved her hands at Leah and Elvis, who were lost in their thoughts. It's nothing, it's too dry. I'm just not used to it. Leah and Elvis looked at each other but did not know how to reply. They had never encountered such a situation before. At that moment, even Leah did not know what to do. Sandy, can you accompany me to the stream to wash my face? Gu Mengmeng stretched out her hands like a blind person touching an elephant, feeling her way towards Sandy. Elvis was one step ahead. He held on to Gu Mengmeng's outstretched wrist and pulled her into his arms. He said worriedly, "I'll go with you." Oh. Gu Mengmeng really wanted to say that she only had a small nosebleed from Daddy Lee's teasing and it was not some terminal illness that could kill her. Elvis really did not need to put on an expression as if her life was in danger. But, with him being so nervous, Gu Mengmeng felt strangely at ease. Yes, a child with a mother is a treasure. Elvis's speed was extremely fast. Even though he was carrying Gu Mengmeng in his arms, it did not affect his speed at all. It was as if Gu Mengmeng, who weighed 60 kilograms, was just a small cotton ball with no weight at all. Leah walked side by side with Elvis the moment he took his first step. The smile on his face was unknowingly replaced by worry. He did not say much and only said two words lightly, "Let's go together." Sandy was extremely anxious, but there was no way her speed could catch up to Elvis and Leah. She could only huff and puff as she ran behind them. After they left Elvis's territory, Bode carried her all the way to the stream. Elvis and Leah ran frantically towards the stream one after another. In addition to Gu Mengmeng's rutting fragrance, they had long attracted the attention of the people in the tribe. In addition, Sandy, the worst friend, followed closely behind. She shouted as she chased after them, "Hurry, hurry, hurry, Gu Mengmeng has lost a lot of blood. I don't know if she will die. I'm so worried, run faster." Yeah, the news of Gu Mengmeng's death spread throughout the entire Saint Nazaire in an instant. Aside from the topic, this was the last chapter of the PK period. The PK would start later. So nervous. No matter what the outcome was, Jean Eyre and Gu Mengmeng were extremely grateful for the companions and hard work these 3 days. Thank you for your passion and love, it makes me feel very warm. Chapter 95. By the time Gu Mengmeng and the rest reached the stream, the nosebleed had already stopped. But since they were already here, she might as well wash her face. Gu Mengmeng had just rolled up her sleeves to wash her face when she heard a commotion behind her. Gu Mengmeng, who was squatting by the stream, was instantly petrified. What kind of scene was this? Males with bruised noses and swollen faces were rushing over hurriedly, as if they wanted to see someone for the last time. Gu Mengmeng tilted her head and froze on the spot. Before she could ask what was going on, Sandy, who was at the front, had already hugged her. She said tearfully, "Gu Mengmeng, don't hide it from me. What happened to you? Hurry and tell me. I just had excessive internal heat. Gu Mengmeng answered honestly, look, I washed my face twice and I'm fine now. Sandy did not believe her. She held Gu Mengmeng's little face and tried to look into her nostrils. After looking, she felt that it was not detailed enough, so she moved her nose closer and sniffed carefully for a while. After confirming that there was no more bleeding, she then heaved a sigh of relief and said pitifully, you can't hide it from me if you're sick. It's fine, don't worry, I'm fine. Gu Mengmeng hugged Sandy's shoulders and comforted her. Who would bleed from their nose for no reason? Don't try to lie to me, sob sob, you're my only good friend, if you die. I, sob sob. It was better if she did not comfort Sandy, but after Gu Mengmeng consoled her, Sandy felt even more upset. Her tears flowed freely, causing Gu Mengmeng to sigh. This Sandy, she was good at everything except that she loved to cry too much. She was a soft girl from head to toe. All right Sandy, if you continue crying, I'll drown in your tears. Gu Mengmeng helped Sandy wipe her tears while coaxing her, don't cry, look at that stream. There are fish, I'll roast some for you, all right? Fish. Hearing that there was food, Sandy stopped crying with difficulty. Her eyes, which had yet to fade from tears, were as clear as the night sky that had been washed by water, clean and transparent. Look, that's it. Gu Mengmeng pointed at the big fat fish swimming leisurely in the stream, as if it was not afraid of humans at all. Water shuttles taste horrible. They taste fishy and have thorns. Sandy looked at the small fish with a look of disgust and curled his lips. Shaking her head, she pulled Gu Mengmeng's arm and said coquettishly, Gu Mengmeng, let's just roast the rabbits. Look at how many rabbits Elvis caught just now, other than the ones you reared, there's still enough for us to eat. Sandy saw that Gu Mengmeng was unmoved and was still staring at the water shuttle with sparkling eyes. She made up her mind and stomped her feet. At most, I will eat less and let you eat your fill first, all right? On the other hand, Gu Mengmeng grabbed Sandy's little hand and pulled her in front of her. She used her chin to point at Elvis and Leah, then pointed at Bode and the other males who had followed her all the way here. She then asked, everyone is watching, only the two of us are eating? Aren't you ashamed? Sandy looked around, then nodded her head confidently. Of course I am, why should I be ashamed? Gu Mengmeng smiled helplessly. The rabbits were caught by Elvis, we still need Lee's help to prepare them later on. In the end, I'll be eating while others watch, I'll be sitting while others stand, what would happen then? No, I can't do it. If we want to eat, we'll eat together or we won't eat. What era are we living in, why is there still sexism? Aside, extra great news, this article has passed 1p. The great editor has informed me to write well and prepare for 2p. During the PK period, thank you little cuties for your support and crazy calls, thank you little babies, Black Sleeves Fragrance, and Yuji Yuyen for their flowers during the PK period. Also thank you QQ Bookstore, C Nyen's Night, for his 388 reading BB. Chapter 96. Of course, Sandy did not know what gender discrimination was, because the beast world had always been like that. It was only right for females to have priority in all resources. But it was also right for females in the beast world to be willful, especially for the first beauty of the tribe like Gu Mengmeng. She could do whatever she wanted. Not to mention a mere water shuttle, even if Gu Mengmeng picked up a rock from the ground and said it was a delicacy, there would be males who would stand out to chew it into pieces and praise it as delicious. Anyway, the males would be the ones to eat the worst food, so Sandy did not insist and just treated it as playing with Gu Mengmeng. She nodded her head and said, all right, whatever you say. But we have to agree, after you roast the water shuttle, we will roast the fish to eat. All right. Gu Mengmeng nodded her head, then looked at Bode and Sandy's other males who were following behind Sandy. They wanted to get closer but seemed to be afraid of Elvis and Leah. She rubbed her chin and smiled sneakily, but we can't let Elvis prepare everyone's food by himself, right? Can we ask those from your family to come over and help? Sandy turned around to look at Bode. Just as she was about to nod her head, she hesitated and peeked at Elvis and Leah from the corner of her eyes. She whispered into Gumengmeng's ear, "It's not a big deal to help, but Elvis has to agree first." Gumengmeng looked back at Elvis in confusion and shrugged her shoulders in confusion, asking, "What do you mean?" Sandy wrinkled her nose at Gumengmeng, pretending to be disgusted. Then, she inched closer and said in an even softer voice, "Elvis is the leader of the tribe and has the priority to hunt. Wherever he is, as long as someone snatches his prey within the range of his scent, it will be considered a provocation and he will teach that person a harsh lesson. Bode and the rest are not Elvis's match." Gumengmeng opened her mouth and nodded her head as if she understood. Then, she turned around to look at Elvis and said, "Leader, can we ask Sandy's males to come over and help us prepare some food?" Elvis rubbed Gumengmeng's little head lovingly. After confirming that her nose was no longer bleeding, he felt relieved and his mood turned for the better. He scooped Gumengmeng into his arms and hugged her with one arm. His eyes were filled with so much indulgence that it could melt into water. His voice was low and thick, like the playing of a cello. "Here, you have the final say." Gumengmeng chuckled and gave Elvis a thumbs up. "Leader, you're so reliable." Elvis seemed to be used to hearing Gumengmeng talk about irrelevant things and did not think about what she meant by atmosphere. Looking at her expression, it was definitely not something bad, so he accepted it gladly. Gumengmeng jumped down from Elvis's arms and held her head high, looking like a little villain intoxicated by success. She cleared her throat and said, "Those who want to eat together later, prepare your own ingredients." Elvis nodded. Gumengmeng's words caused a huge commotion among the males. "Gumengmeng, can we eat with you?" Amidst the cheers, all of them were asking the same question. Gumengmeng nodded and said, "Of course you can. The more people there are, the more delicious the food will be." Oh, after a round of cheers, the single males scattered off to hunt. This was a chance for them to display their skills in front of Gumengmeng. She must have wanted to test everyone to see whose hunting skills were stronger, so she asked everyone to stay for a meal. After all, winter was coming soon and hunting skills were naturally the most important factor in choosing a partner. Chapter 97. At that moment, Gumengmeng still did not know what kind of weird ingredients she would face later on. Looking at everyone's energetic looks, he grinned and thought to himself, "Looks like everyone is hungry. You guys." Gumengmeng waved at Bode and the rest, "Can you go into the water and help me catch 2 fish?" Bode did not reply and just looked at Sandy, as if waiting for her to say something. Sandy nodded without hesitation and said, "Of course, Bode is a very good swimmer." Bode was pleased by Sandy's praise and his gaze was filled with a, "I really don't know what to do with you," smile and love. He nodded and said, "Sit by the shore and wait for me. Don't go near the stream, understand?" Sandy pouted. She was obviously not too happy. Gumengmeng would ask her for help but Bode and the rest still treated her like a piece of trash and only asked her to wait by the side. "Good girl." Bode cupped Sandy's chubby little face with both hands and waited for her promise with anticipation in his eyes. "I know, hurry and go." Although Sandy was unwilling, she did not have the heart to resist. Used to, what a scary word. After getting Sandy's promise, Bode nodded his head in satisfaction. He gently kissed Sandy's forehead and said gently, "Wait for me." Then, he untied the beast-skin skirt tied around his waist and transformed into a leopard. With a leap, a yellow shadow leaped into the water. Perhaps it was because the people in the beast world did not like to eat fish, so these fat and strong fish did not have any sense of danger. Even if a ferocious beast like Bode jumped into the water, they did not care. They swam and ate whatever they wanted, as if they did not care about Bode at all. Bode raised his claws and slapped the water, splashing water up to a meter high. Before the water droplets fell back into the stream, 2 fishes as thick as Gumengmeng's thighs landed in front of Gumengmeng. "Handsome." Gumengmeng instinctively praised him. She looked at the two fishes and her mind spun rapidly. Pickled cabbage fish, boiled fish, squirrel fish, braised fish and fish meat hot pot. What the F***? Gu Mengmeng swallowed her saliva and cursed that beast deity in her heart. What kind of lousy place was this? There wasn't even a seasoning. Sob sob sob. Every time it was time to eat, Gu Mengmeng would miss the borders of the modern world. Now that he thought about it, instant noodles were simply the best in the world. While Gu Mengmeng was lamenting the lack of spices, Leah and Elvis had already stepped into the stream. However, neither of them transformed and maintained their human forms. Elvis could not bear to remove the beast skin dress that Gu Mengmeng had helped him wear, while Leah did not want Gu Mengmeng to see him drenched. After all, a drenched fox was not a peerless beauty. Admittedly, Bode was Sandy's partner and would definitely not pose any substantial threat to Ren Bao and Leah. But, if he was defeated by another male in front of his own female, how could he still have the face to live? Furthermore, why should others prepare the food that their female wanted to eat? Once these two brothers reached a tacit understanding, what could they not accomplish? Hence, not long after, the fish in front of Gu Mengmeng had piled up into a small hill. Gu Mengmeng snapped back to reality and hurriedly waved her hands. Sigh, enough enough. If you can't finish them, don't catch them. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.